Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Bing What If with another fanfiction. This is the second part of What If Deku Had a Mysterious Ocular Quirk? All credits for this video go to their respective authors, so please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Mom, moi. Inko tiredly groaned, barely opening her eyes off the couch. Izuku held something up with both arms. I found a kid in the dumpster. That's impossible. Japan's strict on abortion. Sweat dropping at the exhausted candor his mother displayed, Izuku continued while setting Eri down. Can we keep here for tonight? I can take her to the police station in the morning to find her family. Inko waved him away. Sure thing, baby. Just brush your teeth. Izuku sighed. Yes, Mom. Izuku led Eri towards the hallway leading to the bedrooms and the bathroom. My room's right there. She pointed at his door with her free hand, the other tightly gripping his newly crooked right hand. It says Izuku. True to her words, the All Might decorative sign had his name printed on it. Izuku blushed slightly. Well, I sorta wanted some more All Might stuff for my room. Is it weird to still have all this stuff even after I became his successor? Eri yawned, which was adorable, but also released a toxic scent into the air that even made Inko shift in the other room. Izuku clutched his nose. Forgot you've been in a dumpster for the last couple days. Come on, you need a bath. He led her to the washroom and handed her a towel from beneath the cabinet. I'll find some clothes for you, so wash up, okay? Okay. Eri, you need to let go of my hand to take a bath. This, apparently, was news to her. Beep. Tears began to fill the child's eyes and her lips started to quiver as the hand clutching Izuku's only tightened. I don't want to let go. Izuku felt a protective instinct wash over him and he knelt down to pat his temporary ward's head. It's okay, Eri. We don't have to let go if you don't want to. Stupid. Why would you say that? She needs to take a bath. And probably soak her mouth in hydrogen peroxide. But now what do I do? The answer, Izuku had to give her a bath. His face tinted crimson. Izuku set about bathing the child in a tub brimming with bubbles. Kids like bubbles, right? It took quite a lot of effort to scrub the grime and muck out of young Eri's hair, but it was worth it to see the brilliant white of her locks as opposed to the dingy gray he confused for a used mop. Her skin was peach-colored beneath the layer of grime she built up hiding outside, and her horn was a yellow-brown color. But she was hesitant to remove the filthy bandages on her arms. Eri, it's okay. I need to clean your arms, but I can't do that if these are on. I promise I'll replace them with fresh, clean ones, okay? She looked away, but slowly relented with a slight nod, holding her arms out of the bubbly water. Moving slowly, Izuku unwrapped her arms, nearly vomiting when he saw countless scratches and scars, almost like incision lines, dotting both forearms. Who, how, what happened to her? Izuku held his opinions and bile inside, too scared to possibly hurt or scare her. Instead, he forced a smile. Much better. Thanks, Eri. He trashed the filthy rags and continued. He finished bathing her, being particularly ginger with her arms, which she preferred to keep hidden under the protective layer of bubbles floating atop the water, and dried her off. Okay, now to find something for you to wear. Izuku looked at the smock she had on earlier. That's a no-go. I probably need to burn it first. I don't know where Mom keeps my old clothes, but maybe. Izuku picked the girl up by swaddling her in the towel and carried her to his room, where he promptly dressed her in an all-might shirt. Sure, it was Izuku's size and fit over her like a dress, but goddammit, it was adorable. Izuku, my arms. She whispered, hiding her arms in the massive sleeves. All right, be right back. While he tried to leave her, apparently she had other ideas, so he ended up carrying her to the kitchen, where he managed to pry her off long enough to grab the bandages from the medicine cabinet. As he rewrapped her arms in the pristine white cloth, she murmured, Did the doctor get you too? Izuku looked at her quizzically. The doctor? What do you mean? She pointed to the bandages on his right arm. You have scars too? So some doctor did this to her? Did her family know? Did they do it? I sorta did this to myself. Izuku sheepishly chuckled. How? I have a powerful quirk, but it hurts me to use it at full power. She looked at his arm, her small hands following the bandage's creases and folds around Izuku's arm. Why do you use it then? She avoided his gaze and whispered, if your quirk hurts, why do you use it? Izuku thought for a second before replying with a slight smile, because I want to control it. This made the girl snap her attention to him. Huh? He nodded. If I can control it, then I could save a lot more people, right? And the only way to get better at using it is to practice? Even when it hurts? Especially when it hurts. But what if it hurts other people? That made Izuku shut up. The expression on Eri's face was conflicted, as if what Izuku was saying was causing her strife. Eri, he spoke softly, does your quirk hurt others? She gasped and looked at him but nodded after seeing the compassionate look in his eyes. No point in talking down to her. Izuku gave a small smile. You know, my quirk could hurt people really badly too. Really? Today, I had to fight a lot of villains. If I wasn't careful, I could have really hurt them, maybe even kill them. Her eyes were wide, both with awe and recognition. Did you, kill anyone? He shook his head. Oh. Because I've practiced and practiced and practiced. Sure, I still hurt myself, but that'll change too. Eri looked down in thought, but her lip corners tugged upwards in what Izuku recognized as her rendition of a smile. Practice? She yawned and Izuku became blatantly aware that it was nearly 2 in the morning. Come on, let's get some sleep. He led the small child by hand to his room and placed her on the bed. You can sleep here tonight. I'll be right here. He gestured to his desk chair. Eri nodded, but still didn't let go of his hand. Izuku sighed, but smiled at the cute gesture. Do you want me to hold your hand while you sleep? She nodded again, so Izuku pulled his chair next to his bed and did his best to get comfortable while still holding the child with his left hand. Izuku? Yeah? What is it? She looked away from him, her cheeks slightly red. Can I hold your right hand instead? Izuku raised an eyebrow. You sure? Kind of crooked now. Jesus, I'm never gonna get used to that. Eri shook her head. I like it better. It matches? He felt his heart clench at the adorableness and relented, turning his chair around 180 degrees to switch hands. The next morning, Inko sighed as she checked the clock. 10 a.m. is late for Izuku. He's normally out by 5 to work out. Although maybe he's just tired from yesterday. The mother nearly burst into tears remembering the phone call she got from UA explaining the attack at the USJ facility and her son's injuries. Maybe I should just check on him. See if he's doing okay. She exited the kitchen and cracked open Izuku's door. Geez, he didn't even go to sleep in his bed? Ugh, in that angle, his neck is gonna kill him when he wakes up. Mama Midoriya gently shook her child. Come on, kiddo. Time to get up. I've got breakfast. Izuku stirred and opened his bleary eyes. He straightened out, earning a nasty crack from his neck and a sympathetic grimace from his mom. What time is it? He asked wearily. Little past 10. I know that's late for you, so I didn't want you to completely ruin your sleep schedule. Izuku nodded and yawned, stretching his left arm out. Inko smiled and quietly moved out the room. There's a lot of food whenever you're ready. I have plenty so your friend can have some too. Izuku nodded and his mom exited the room. 3 seconds passed before Inko burst back into the room and exclaimed, "W-boo-boo." Curled up in Izuku's lap was a small child tightly gripping his right hand and clad in one of his All Might novelty shirts. Inko sputtered, H-ho, tubby. Izuku looked down and raised an eyebrow. Huh, she moved. Don't know why I had to sleep in the chair then. Why do you have a toddler? Inko managed to squeak. Remember I told you about her last night? I found her in the dumpster and brought her inside. Inko vaguely remembered some sort of disruption after she fell asleep, but clearly her son's words didn't register at the time. I guess it can't be helped. After you both wash up, come get some breakfast. We can talk about it then. Izuku nodded and looked down at the slowly awakening child. Good morning, Eri. Sleep well? She yawned cutely and nodded, rubbing her eyes. Suddenly, her eyes shot open and she frantically jumped to the ground, looking around the room as if searching for something. What? Eri, are you okay? She continued to examine every detail before suddenly stopping, her eyes welling up with tears. I thought it was a dream. She whimpered. Ah, Eri. Izuku knelt down and wrapped his arms around the girl protectively, which she reciprocated by desperately seizing his shirt and burying her face in his chest. They held each other for a while before her grip loosened, which Izuku took to mean that she was okay. He pulled back and dabbed at her face. I'm not going anywhere. I promise. She nodded slowly, almost hesitantly. Izuku chuckled and took her by the hand, using the damaged one as per her preference. Are you hungry? My mom's a really good cook. He took the roaring sound of her stomach to mean yes and led to the bathroom to clean up before taking her to the dining room. Inko watched her son carefully as he sat the young girl to his right, still holding on to her tightly. So, what's your name, sweetie? She flashed a comforting smile, trying her best to mask her confusion at the situation. The child looked to Izuku, almost as if asking permission, speaking only when he nodded with a comforting smile. Eri. Her voice was soft and quiet. Eri. That's a very pretty name. The little girl's cheeks flushed slightly, and she nodded in response. Not much of a talker. It's lucky I have experience in kids like that. Well, Eri, where are you from? The girl took her time to answer. Underground? Is your house underground? That's interesting. Do you know the address? Where can we take you? Her eyes shot open and she frantically seized Izuku's sleeve, whimpering, I don't want to go back to Kai. Please. Inko's eyes widened at the sudden panic, but she nodded with a comforting smile as Izuku slowly rubbed the young girl's back. It's okay, sweetie. You can stay here for as long as you like. This seemed to calm the child down greatly and she settled down, though she still clung to Izuku like he was her lifeline. I should introduce myself, huh? My name's Inko. I'm Izuku's mom. It's really nice to meet you, Eri. Inko. Eri said the name as if testing how it sounded. Izuku smiled at this. Eri, what are you hungry for? She looked at him quizzically. What do you mean? I mean, what do you want to eat? Her eyes sparkled and her mouth opened wide. Lane, I can choose? Inko wanted to laugh at the innocent look, but she had a feeling Eri's inexperience was slightly morbid in origin. Of course, sweetie. We have bacon, eggs, rice, fruit, muffins dash. Fruit. The older woman smiled. That's something. Sure. We have bananas and oranges and apples. If you don't like those, we can go buy something you like. Apples? Eri's mind conjured up a faint recollection of a red orb with dark spots. The inside was yellow-brown and slightly mushy, but its flavor was incredible. Drool started leaking out of the girl's mouth, much to her caretaker's amusement. Inko quickly sliced up an apple from the fruit bowl and laid the even wedges on a plate in front of the girl. Izuku smiled expectantly, eager to see the child enjoy something. Eri poked at the fruit with her fork. The exterior was so shiny. There were no brown splotches on its bright red flesh. Meanwhile, the inside was more of a white than the darker color she remembered, and it was quite firm, despite the sheen indicating high moisture. But its flavor was even better than she remembered. Her face lit up upon biting into the fruit. Sweet? She murmured, her voice slightly muffled by the food. Izuku's face likewise lit up. Well, she likes apples a lot. That's good, he remarked to his mom. Inko smiled at the sight, but whispered to her child, What happened? Where did you find her? Izuku relayed the story of how he found the child hiding using his quirk the night before. I think she's hiding from her parents or something. Inko nodded thoughtfully, grateful the child was happily munching on her breakfast rather than pay attention to the conversation. You think they gave her those scars, too? He nodded, based on how she panicked when we offered to take her back. Yeah. Thing is, she never mentioned a mom or dad. Only someone called doctors. I guess we should call the police first and have them handle this. For all we know, she was kidnapped and her real family's looking for her. Oh crap. I never even thought about that. Although, I get a bad feeling about leaving her alone. I need to make a call, Izuku announced, standing up. Who? Inko was surprised at the sudden proclamation. The question stumped poor, hasty Izuku. Just a friend. He ran off before his mother could respond and hid in his room, hastily dialing one of 2 numbers he had memorized. A few rings passed before, hello? All Might. Izuku hissed, I have a problem. On the other line, All Might was holding the phone away from his ear as his pupil started rambling. Young Midoriya, I can't understand you. Talk slower. Sorry. I found a kid hiding out in a dumpster by my house and I think she was abused or something cause she has these scars on her arm, but that's not the point. All Might's sweat dropped. How is he talking slowly while still rambling? Anyways, my mom and I tried to find out where she's from, but she's completely terrified to go back to wherever she's from and I was wondering if you knew what I should do? The symbol of peace thought for a moment before responding. Well, procedure in cases like this is to place the child into the care of the police. They can take the investigation from there. Why yeah, but she sorta. A light knocking on Izuku's door and a timid, yet nervous voice interrupted him. Izuku? Eri. Crap. He opened the door. Hi, Eri. What's up? She fiddled with the hem of her t-shirt/dress. You were gone. I thought you left. Her eyes started to glisten, and a wave of guilt washed over the teen. She lifted her left hand, reaching for his right. Oh, Eri, I'm sorry. I just had a call. He reciprocated the gesture and pulled her into the room, sitting her on the bed with him while he finished talking. She leaned against him, earning another heart clench. Damn it, she's too much. You All Might? A soft chuckle came from the other line. I heard everything. No worries. She sounds cute. Izuku laughed nervously. She is, yeah. But I don't know if I could leave her. Young Midoriya, I assure you, the police are the best people to handle this situation. No, she might not let me go. The line was silent for a moment. It's not uncommon for kidnapped or abused children to fixate on their rescuers. In that case, separating her from you might be detrimental. Can you list some of her features? I'll have a friend on the force look into it first. Oh sure. Name's Eri. Alright. She's about 5 or 6, I think. White hair, light skin, red eyes. A horn on the right side of her head. About a meter tall or so. Got it. I'll have him look for any matching description. In the meantime, bring her to me and Recovery Girl. We're at the Hero Ward at Muzutafu General. I'll meet you in the lobby. So after assuring his mother that he was taking Eri to a trusted specialist and then assuring Eri that they were going somewhere safe, it was only an hour train ride to the hospital, the entire duration of which Eri spent clinging to Izuku's arm like a lifeline. Entering the hospital, the duo was instantly greeted by Small Might. Yo, young Midoriya? He looked at the small child tightly gripping his protégé's arm. And you must be young Eri. Hello. Then he noticed the shirt she was using as a dress. So otaku but so cute. She shyly bowed to the man, still clutching Izuku with both hands. All Might smiled. At least she didn't scream. Most children tend to do that when I'm in this form. I get the feeling it's not because she's necessarily brave, though. Here, come with me. Recovery Girl's still treating Aizawa and 13, so we'll need to go inside the specialty ward. Leading the duo of minors through a special set of elevator doors, All Might flashed a card, which Izuku recognized as his hero license, in front of a sensor, triggering the lights behind the floor buttons. The hero ward's locked to the public, so you need a license or a provisional license to enter. Or you can get special permission from the front desk or another hero. Getting off on the 4th floor, he led them down a pristine white hall and into a large room with several beds, but only one occupant. Why are you here? Izuku paled. Aizawa-sensei. Why look, That was a lie. The erasure hero was covered in bandages from head to toe, his arms being especially secured by a cast. How is he even conscious? The hero's eyes narrowed from the small holes left open from the white cloth. Again, why are you here? This is for heroes only. And why do you have a kid? And why are you in that form in front of a student? He directed at All Might. Izuku started sweating. That's a lot of questions with complicated answers. Maybe All Might can answer. Yeah, there's no way he'd bring us to Aizawa if he didn't think of something. He looked at his mentor expectantly. Shit, I thought he was asleep. Maybe young Midoriya can think of something? He's smart. He looked at his student expectantly. They both had the same thought. Oh no. Your arms? Did the doctor get you too? The 3 males turned to the small child, who was looking curiously at Aizawa. Eri to the rescue. The one for all users praised the child in their minds. The injured hero narrowed his eyes but nodded. The doctor bandaged them up, but a villain broke them. Why? She held out her right arm and softly answered, "We match." The hero's stare softened slightly but hardened once he turned his attention back to the other men. "You didn't answer my question. Explain, Yuao." Recovery Girl shook her head, lowering the cane she just wrapped Aizawa with. Now. Shota, how many times do I need to tell you to be nicer to people? Besides, Midoriya over there saved your life, from what I understand. You ought to be nicer. Aizawa just sighed. You broke your arm again. Learn to control your karao. What did I just say? Honestly, so callous, this one. Izuku made the mistake of chuckling, earning a rap of his own. Why are you laughing, young man? He's right, you know. Your injuries were nothing to scoff at. You're lucky to still have all your ribs. Wise, ma'am. Scary. Recovery Girl cleared her throat and smiled down at the child hiding behind Izuku's leg. Hello, young woman. My name's Recovery Girl. What's yours? Eri. The old woman smiled. Well, Eri, I'd like to run some tests on you, is that okay? Her grip on Izuku tightened and she looked at her guardian, slightly fearful. He just smiled at her. It's okay. Recovery Girl is one of the best heroes around. She fixed me up after I got hurt and I'm just fine. Ooh, speaking of which, the youthful heroine quickly gave the actually youthful Izuku a grandma kiss, enveloping his torso and right arm in green light. Eri gasped and temporarily let go, retreating behind All Might, much to the taller man's amusement. Guess she likes me more than Aizawa. Izuku sighed as he felt the last hairline fractures set themselves and all the discomfort vanish. Thank you. That's a lot better. Recovery Girl waved it away. The best way you can thank me is by learning to control that quirk of yours. Eri looked at Izuku fearfully. Are you okay? He smiled at her and held out his slightly less crooked hand. Yeah. Recovery Girl's quirk heals people. I'm all better now. She just wants to help you too. The child nodded and quickly reattached herself to Izuku. He led her behind Recovery Girl, who in turn led him and All Might to another examination room. Now, just sit up here and I can examine you. Does that sound okay? Recovery Girl smiled brightly when the young girl nodded and commenced the physical. In the meantime, Izuku and All Might spoke. I think you were right to be wary of leaving her, young Midoriya. She's clearly very attached to you. What should we do? Did your contact find anything? All Might shook his head, no missing child report matching that description. For that matter, he says he didn't find any child period that matched her description. Izuku's blood ran cold. Are you saying that she doesn't exist? The older hero nodded solemnly. Legally, at least so far as we know, this is the first we've heard of her. Recovery Girl's blood test might reveal something, but we'll have to wait for that. Have you found anything else about her? Something noteworthy? Izuku tapped his chin. She has some scars all across her arms. They look kinda like incisions. Jesus. All Might felt slightly sick at that information. In all his years as a pro, violence against children never failed to make him queasy. Or piss him off. And she seemed worried that her quirk is dangerous. Like, she said it hurts people? In terms of abduction, it's not uncommon for children to be kidnapped because they manifest powerful quirks, but that's usually after it's been documented by a researcher or doctor. In her case, we have nothing to go on. What should we do if she doesn't have any known relatives? Izuku was slightly nervous at the prospect of leaving the girl alone. Normally, the police would take custody of her until they could find her closest relative. All Might rubbed his head and sighed. Recovery Girl interrupted. That might be a problem. She tucked in Eri, who'd fallen asleep thanks to a relaxant. The one for all users perked up. I finished analyzing her blood sample. She was almost disturbingly calm when I did it. Her sex chromosomes don't match any known karyotypes on record. Her parents don't exist either. All Might's face was ghastly. That's impossible. 3 people don't just not exist. The doctor shook her head. I have the sneaking suspicion this child has a less than legal background. It's probably better to consider her a foster child rather than a missing one. I doubt any good would come from trying to match this girl with her relatives. The pro nodded. Okay. I'll call Tsukachi. He can take Eri to a foster home in the meantime. Recovery Girl sighed. Or, you just leave her with Midoriya? Izuku exclaimed. All Might exclaimed mightily. the old woman explained. The entire time I was conducting her physical, she was looking at Midoriya. She likely has a spectrum of social disorders, so the fact that she's attached herself to him after just one day is basically a miracle. Trying to separate them might get in the way of her best chance at recovery. All Might rubbed his chin thoughtfully. I'm sure Tsukachi could find the appropriate paperwork to get your mother as a registered foster parent, but would she be okay with it? Izuku nodded. Oh, she'd love having her around. Still, it'd be best to ask. From there, you'd need to be notarized. Do you know any attorneys closely? Family friends? It'd be faster than waiting for a judge at a courthouse. Izuku chuckled. My mom's best friend's actually a lawyer. All Might grinned brightly. That's fantastic. Ooh. Then Izuku remembered an important detail about this specific family friend. Oh no. That evening. Aizu. You're so big now. Mitsuki Bakugo hugged the boy as she entered the Midoriya household. And Inko. You're still big in a completely different way. Inko chuckled sheepishly as she accepted the hug from her childhood friend. Thanks Mitsuki. We appreciate you coming out to help. The taller woman waved it away. Please, what are friends for? Speaking of whom? She poked her head out the front door. Oh, Katsuki. Get your ass inside now. Don't be rude. From outside. Shut up, you oi. Despite the harsh language, Bakugo still obediently entered the house and nodded to the shorter woman. Hey, Aunt Inko. He was immediately punched on the head by his mother. What was that? Bow to your elders, you disrespectful prick. Don't fucking hit me. He bowed slightly nonetheless before looking at his classmate and narrowing his eyes. Hey, Kaken? Izuku waved nervously. W were you doing here? Mitsuki ruffled her son's hair. Oh, he was so worried about you, I just had to bring him along. She laughed merrily while her son fumed, words incapable of expressing his profound rage. Anyways, where's the new kid? I want to meet the little lady that's gotten so attached to our Izuku. The Midoriyas led the Bakugas into the kitchen, where a rather nervous Eri was using an apple wedge to cover her mouth, as if that protected her from the visitor's gaze. She quickly ran to her guardian, clutching his right hand and hiding behind his leg. Oh, she's adorable. Hi, sweetie. I'm your Auntie Mitsuki. The older blonde waved with a bright smile, earning a polite bow back. Inko laughed at her ward's behavior. Sorry, Mitsuki. She's just a little shy. Waving it off, Mitsuki replied, it's nothing. It's good of you to take her on, though. Though I suppose with a kid like Izuku, it's not much effort at all. The blonde's face suddenly contorted, and she pinched her son's cheeks. Why did I get stuck with such a brat, Aichi? Why can't you be a good boy and adopt kids off the street? Katsuki roared. Shove you foo dash. He suddenly stopped and glared at Eri. Tisk, whatever. He pushed his mom's hands away and stormed to the couch, grumbling. That's useful information. Mitsuki muttered before pulling out a large swath of papers from her bag. Anywho, Inko and I have a lot of stuff to do. Why don't you three go play or something? Inko's sweat dropped at the sizable stack of papers. You sure I can't go play too? Nonsense. With my help, this'll only take the entire night. But it's Saturday. While Mitsuki tried to get her friend excited about adoption papers and her friend nearly cried at the loss of her evening, Izuku sat on the left end of the couch across from Bakugo while Eri elected to sit close to, almost leaning against, the former. Katsuki sked, why does this kind of stuff always gotta happen to you? Taken aback, Izuku stammered, Huh? What do you mean? All this weird stuff always happens to your useless as self? Internally, Bakugo was screaming at his inability to speak his mind in the presence of a child. Izuku shrugged with a nervous chuckle. I don't really know. Just my luck, I guess. The other teen just shook his head before looking at the small child. Why is she holding your hand? Eri gasped and hid her face in Izuku's side, much to his amusement. She says that we match. 'Cause the bandages. Your hand looks like something bad. I hate this kid. Izuku just laughed sheepishly. You should have seen Aizawa-sensei, though. He looked like a mummy. When did you see Aizawa? Bakuga's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Cracked. When I took Eri to get a physical, he was at the hospital too. Technically not a lie. Heroes stay in the hero ward. Idiot. Shit. Oh, I got special permission from Recovery Girl. Yeah. Why did I say yeah at the end? That's so much less convincing. Eri perked up at the mention of the old heroine, Recovery Girl. Eri. Yeah, Eri. Remember her? The child nodded. She and Mr. All Might were really nice. Bakugu nearly did a spit take. You saw All Might? Eri, no. Of course not. Eri cocked her head. But that's what you called the skinny man. With the yellow hair. You called him L-. Izuku clamped a hand over the child's mouth. Wow. Such active imaginations. Sweat ran down the greenette's face in greater volume than even his tears. He whispered into Eri's ear, if you don't say anything else, I'll get you 1,000 apples. The girl nodded, drool running from her mouth in even greater volume than Izuku's sweat. Bakugu stared suspiciously at the other two, but just shook his head and stared forward. It's been a day and you've already made her weird. Good going, Deku? What's a Deku? It's what he is. I thought he was Izuku. He's still a Deku. What's a Deku? You already asked me that. Izuku would have found the exchange humorous and a tad priceless if he wasn't so worried about Eri adopting the insult. It's just a nickname, Eri. It's a different way to read my name's kanji. The girl pondered for a second before perking up. Oh, I get it. Can't do anything, right? Katsuki howled with laughter while Izuku went white. Not you too. She tapped her chin. Or is it from Dikairu? Because that means can do anything instead. Izuku started sobbing with relief while nodding furiously. Katsuki just growled, a certain round-faced girl coming to mind. Not you too. Still, Eri, how do you know kanji so well? Izuku asked after drying his tears. She suddenly fell quiet, whispering, it was one of the books in my room. Room? What room? Bakugu asked, oblivious to the situation at hand. Izuku shook his head at his childhood friend, gesturing to the downcast expression that befell the child. It's okay. We don't need to talk about. Wanna do anything else? The child just shrugged before muttering, apples? Izuku smiled, hey sure. Want some food? She nodded, much to his delight. A slight weight in his chest, Katsuki looked away before trudging into the kitchen, seizing the biggest and sharpest knife he could find, and slicing up several apples with ease. Wah, Kaken? How'd you slice them up so fast? And so cleanly? Izuku marveled at the evenness of each apple slice. Knives aren't hard, moron. Katsuki grumbled as he handed the girl the pile of apple wedges. Eat? So they passed the time snacking on the fruit, the child's face as close to smiling as Izuku had ever seen. Actually, I've never seen her smile before. At that moment, Mitsuki and a comically burnt-out Inko finally got up from the table, a stack of completed forms in hand. Congrats, Mamadoriya, you're a proud parent of two. Inko murmured, a smile doing its best to stretch across her exhausted face. Izuku looked at Eri with a grin. Hey, that's great. You can stay here now. Eri looked at Izuku, then to Mitsuki, then back to Izuku. I don't have to go back? What do you mean? The older Bakugu just laughed. It means that, legally speaking, Izuku's your brother. And this ball of love is your mom. And that really makes me your auntie. Eri's eyes were shimmering with tears threatening to spill at any moment. That means that I'm... Izuku's eyes started tearing up too. My sister. Inko started tearing up as well. My daughter. Within second, the three of them were sobbing hard enough to cause a tsunami. Mitsuki just laughed. Look at that. She already cries like a Midoriya. Katsuki just rolled his eyes. Peach, only plus side is now I get to hear someone call that moron Dehenite. Then he saw the little girl actually smile and his chest lightened. Having a 4-day weekend right after their very first week of school felt weird, but nobody could really complain, especially given the circumstances surrounding the break. After fighting off a horde of villains, practically every student in Class 1A was clamoring for time off to rest their bodies and psyches. So it was just Izuku's luck that he was currently stuck listening to the only two people, in the whole world for that matter, that would be upset at school's cancellation. To think that classes would already be cancelled so early in the year. The life of a hero is truly fraught with disappointment. Ida groaned from the other end of the line. Yayarose's nods were practically audible over the phone. To think I was so excited for tomorrow's practical training too. Though, I suppose UA wants to do its best to up security after USJ. Speaking of which, Midoriya, how are your ribs and arm? Izuku hastily picked up the phone, having long since put it on speaker when the other two began their tirade. Oh, I'm good. Recovery girl managed to fix me up yesterday at the hospital, so I'm all healed up. Oh, did she manage to straighten out your hand? It looked pretty bad. He laughed sheepishly. Nah, that's permanent. I sorta overdid it with my quirk. It doesn't get in the way or anything. He quickly reassured them, hearing the other two on the group call inhale deeply. It just feels and looks a little funny. No biggie. Not to mention she likes it. The she in question was his newly adopted sister, Eri, currently holding said hand while she munched on a Granny Smith apple. I see. But if you went to the hospital, did you get to see 13 or Aizawa-sensei? Yayarozu asked. Yeah, I saw Aizawa-sensei. He was pretty bandaged up, but he was conscious and everything. The distinct grunt Ida made when he nodded sounded through the speaker. Excellent news. But speaking of Aizawa-sensei, the reason I called the both of you is that as class representative and deputy representatives, we must elect our cabinet. Where and when shall we meet? Izuku paled. I promised Eri I'd take her shopping today. See, could we do it tomorrow? We have 2 more days off anyways. Ida gasped. Midoriya, you yourself told Aizawa-sensei that we'd have this assignment completed by the weekend's end. We should not abuse his trust like that. It's not that. IP promised? Why can't you be a little less earnest? Midoriya, is there some sort of reason you can't do it today? Sorta. How do I explain that I spontaneously gained a sibling? Yayarozu sighed on the other end. You really ought to work on your stuttering. I can't help it. IK kinda promised to take my sister shopping today. She kinda doesn't have any clothes. Ida gasped again. Midoriya, I had no idea of your familial responsibilities and problems. I apologize for judging you or your financial status. I get the feeling he just bowed through the floor, and we're not poor. Not that she's new? Like she's a newborn? I didn't even know you had a sister. Is that why? You know, it'd be a lot easier to say this in person. I can probably just go shopping afterwards. Is it okay if I bring her then? Of course. Oh, we should do it at my house. I can ask Mother to bring out our golden tips tea. Oh, the both of you would love it. And then I can get the cookies from? When did she get so bubbly? Izuku and I, where are we going? Eri asked as the older boy led her down the road. I told you. My friend's house to do some work for school. And then after, I'm taking you shopping, just like I said. Although Izuku would definitely miss the sight of the small child in his all-might shirts, it was probably for the best that she get something else to wear. I meant that, they're all so big. True to her words, every single house on the street looked like a castle more so than it did a home. At least the ones behind the duo. There was a lot of forest by the road now. I think my friend's family is well off. Makes sense considering she got in through recommendations. Then he found the house number he was looking for. Oh, nothing about anything makes sense anymore. As it turned out, the forest was just part of the property. Yayarozu's property. Because she's rich. Holy. Present company. Shit. Damn it. Luckily, the small child was too intrigued by the massive gate that seemed to lead to some far-off land rather than a high school student's living quarters to pay attention to her brother's foul mouth. It's big, she simply stated. Laughing, Izuku pressed the call button by the gate, jumping back at the immediate response. I've been waiting for you. Ida's just arrived, so please come in. The gate swung open as Yayarozu's bouncy voice rang throughout the air, making the world slightly brighter. Too bad the walk to the house was hell on earth. This is excessive. Izuku groaned as he trudged through the path, the child accompanying him practically dragging on the ground. After arriving at the palatial home and being ushered in by a solemn butler whose judgment of his t-shirt shirt and Aries dress was all too apparent, to the great hall, Izuku finally came face to face with his classmates. Is this what Odysseus felt? Relief? Yayarozu immediately bounced up, an uncharacteristically joyous smile on her face. Midoriya. Welcome to my home. Please, have some tea and cookies. Then her eyes traveled down to the child hiding behind his leg. Oh my. Within seconds, the female teen, probably the smartest and most mature student in the class, one of 4 UA freshmen to get into the hero course through recommendation, was bouncing up and down in front of a small child. Oh my gosh, you're so cute. My name's Momo Yaoyorozu, but you can call me absolutely anything. Did I mention you're so cute? Eri shyly smiled, the newest and best addition to her facial expression repertoire. Thank you, Miss Yaoyorozu. Ida then cleared his throat. Hello, young child. My name is Tenya Ida, hero in training and representative for Class 1A at UA. Pleased to make your acquaintance. He bowed deeply and powerfully. If that wasn't a thing, he made it one. The child seemed a little more weirded out at this greeting, but she bowed in response. Hello. I'm Eri. She looked up at Izuku as if asking permission, to which she received a reassuring nod and a smile. Midoriya? Ida smiled at the cute cinnamon roll, but rubbed his chin after noticing something. Midoriya, you say she's your sister, but I see very little resemblance. Although her eye color is the same as yours when you use your quirk, everything else is quite different. Izuku rubbed his head at the terrible explanation. This broke Yaoyorozu out of her cuteness coma. What do you mean? So he explained everything he could, only leaving out the details about Eri's possible abuse, mostly the scars on her arms, and Aizawa discovering that Izuku knew about All Might's true form. Ida broke the silence that followed the rather heavy story. To think I ever judged you for prioritizing your beloved younger sister? Forgive me. He bowed right into the table, creating a painful-sounding thunk that didn't seem to bother him at all in his guilt. Izuku waved his arms frantically. No, it's fine. Really? Yaoyorozu sniffled, wiping at her eyes. Such a tragic background. You're so good to take her in, Midoriya. Appears I misjudged you again. She bowed too, although less violently, thankfully, than Ida. Why do I get the feeling these two don't think too highly of me a lot of the time? But after hearing this, there's absolutely no way I can let you leave here without a full wardrobe and supplies. I'll get my butler. Yaoyorozu ran off before Izuku could even respond. Eri smiled at her brother's friend's antics. They seem to like you. Izuku blushed slightly while Ida nodded resolutely. Your brother, dear sweet Eri, is one of the finest students in our class. I'm not good with attention. I apologize for exacerbating your social awkwardness. Please accept my apologies. Does he hear the words coming out of his mouth? Luckily, Izuku's salvation came in the form of a still bouncy Yaoyorozu. Okay, I arranged for all the necessary items to be delivered to your home, Midoriya. They'll be there shortly. How did you do that so fast? How did you get my address? 2 days later. Getting ready for school was never fun. For one, Izuku had to get up early enough as is to get in a morning run. Then, he had to rush to shower and prepare his backpack. Then he had to spend a good half hour struggling to tie his tie, that most nefarious of accessories. And then he had barely enough time to devour a small feast for breakfast before heading out the door to catch his long-ass train ride to UA. But today was slightly harder than normal, mostly because he and his mother hadn't quite figured out what to do with Eri. My office has a daycare center. Eri, would you like to play there? Inko asked, smiling at her new daughter. Eri nodded. Okay, great. Just let go of Izuku and we can head out in a bit. Okay. Mom, she's not letting go. Inko sighed, exasperated at this development. While she found it absolutely adorable that Eri was so clingy to Izuku, even more so now that she had some adorably regal dresses courtesy of the rich girl she was now determined to make her daughter-in-law, it could not have come at worse time. Eri, you know Izuku has to go to school, right? He isn't coming with me. The young girl looked at her adopted mother quizzically, but nodded. Okay. She turned to Izuku. So am I going to school? The older Midoriyas groaned at this. Maybe you should just saw off my hand and give it to her. That might work. Izuku deadpanned. I wonder if that's what happened to Shigaraki. Then his phone rang. Hello? Young Midoriya. All Might? Izuku stammered, surprised at the sudden phone call so early in the morning. Inko paled. WB? All Might? Waving his mom away, Izuku listened. Apologies for disturbing you, but are you still at home? Yui. Do you need something? Ha. Indeed I do. If you could bring young Eri to UA with you, that would be splendid. Recovery Girl would like to do an in-depth analysis of her quirk factor, if possible. The solution? Why yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Not entirely sure why you're thanking me for this, but you're welcome. Izuku put his phone in his pocket and grinned at Eri. Looks like you can come to school with me. Her face brightened, and she tightened her grip on Izuku's hand. Yay. Bye Miss Inko. Bye Mom. I'll buy Eri lunch from the cafeteria. The door shut as the two kids left. Although the Midoriya matriarch didn't seem to register it, all might, calling my son. An hour later. Class 1A was a lively room that Wednesday morning, owing mostly to how reinvigorated everyone felt after the extended break. Man, I can't believe how many reporters are outside right now, Kaminari said, leaning back in his chair. Kirishima nodded. I know. I thought there were a lot the other day, but this is crazy. True to their words, the UA perimeter was positively swarming with journalists, desperately clawing the walls while clamoring for even the smallest hint of gossip. Luckily, the gate was kept clear by Hound Dog's intimidation. That, and the small pool of slobber gathering beneath his maw. Ribbit? It makes sense though. UA hasn't been invaded by villains in decades and never on this scale. Kaminari's face lit up. Yo, does that mean we're like, famous? 'Cause that's all he... Jiro pulled her earjack back from Kaminari's eye and chastised. I don't know why you're so happy. Aizawa and 13 nearly died. Shoji added. Also, Midoriya was in bad shape. That nerd passed out like a bitch. He needs to toughen up. Bakugo growled. He's the only one who actually hurt the Nomo. Your attack didn't even phase it. Ribbit? I too did something, you fucking amphibian. Uraraka looked at her lap and frowned slightly. I had to get escorted home before he woke up. I wonder if he's alright. The sound of the classroom door opening snapped everyone to attention. And this is my classroom. The door's big. A soft voice observed. Deku. Uraraka happily chimed. You're okay, Ribbit. Glad to see you awake, Midoriya. Why'd you bring the kid? Bakugo narrowed his eyes. A wave of confusion passed over the classroom at the sight of Midoriya walking in hand with a strange-looking child. Izuku chuckled nervously. Oh, this is Eri. The girl waved shyly from behind Izuku's leg. Uraraka's face went white. She's? Mina's face went white. So? Hagakure's face probably went white. Cute. The three girls swarmed the child, giggling uncontrollably at her overwhelming cuteness. Even the reserved Jiro was blushing slightly, overcome with a deep and instinctive need to pinch those cheeks. Look at her little shoes. Azui grinned. Ashido was practically hyperventilating. Horn? She has a horn. She picked Eri up and held her out towards the class. Kiri, we have a new horn buddy. Hell yeah. Kirishima exclaimed, only to get a book thrown at his head. Ow. What was that for? He glared at Bakugo, who just glowered. Izuku sheepishly chuckled. Oh, sorry about that, Kirishima. Kaken doesn't like swearing in front of Eri. Although apparently violence is fine. This startled the class even more than the arrival of the child. Even the stoic Todoroki raised an eyebrow at that revelation. Mina got very close to Izuku, her eyes wide as could be. They won't swear in front of her? She held up the perplexed Eri for emphasis. Izuku nodded. Yeah, it was kinda surprising. The class erupted into raucous laughter, most prominently from Kaminari, Kirishima, and Mina, although Jiro had to clamp her hand over her mouth to control herself. I will subtly and very violently end all of your lives. The sheer malice behind those words silenced everyone rather quickly, although Mina, fearless as she was, still chuckled. Wait, does that mean Bakugo already met Eri? For that matter, what is she to you, Midoriya? Ribbit? I just got dragged to his house when my mom helped them sign the adoption papers. It's nothing. What? The class erupted into shouts again. So she's like your sister? Toru asked, drooling at the thought of 2 class cinnamon rolls. Uraraka got too close to Izuku's face. What else is new? And pleaded, Deku, you need to bring her every day. Izuku chuckled. Sure thing. He tried to turn away to his desk, but a surprisingly strong grip held him back. Deku, Uraraka's bubbly aura shifted drastically, becoming almost scary. I mean what I say. Day. He gulped and nodded nervously. Yes, ma'am. Great. Thanks, Deku. Man, she'd give Yaoyorozu a run for her money when it comes to mood swings. Izuku took his seat, smiling at the sight of his sister get snuggled by all the girls, and Kirishima, before landing in Bakugu's lap of all people. She looked up at him and blinked a few times before looking forward at the bare blackboard. She just relaxed like that? Everyone thought simultaneously, even as most of them snapped pictures of the blushing Bakugu and his contorted face. Chuckling, Izuku reached forward. Here, I'll take her, Kaken. My turn. Yaoyorozu swooped in, grabbed the child before anyone knew what was happening, and went back to her desk. When did she even get here? Hi, Eri. Remember me? She smiled at the young girl in her lap. Eri blinked a few times before nodding with a shy smile. Yes, you gave me these clothes, right? Thank you, Miss Yamamoto. The older girl was silent for a moment, before a massive grin crossed her face and joyful tears welled up. Please don't ever call me anything else ever again. Yaoyorozu hugged the girl tightly, somewhere between laughing and furiously sobbing. The main door slid open, interrupting the deputy rep's merriment. Everyone, please take your seats. Ida slid in and proclaimed, holding his hands out like he was giving an important speech. Ida, you're the only one not in your seat. Tokoyami deadpanned. The class rep grumbled and sat down. How humiliating. Truly, I must strive to be a cooler hero and person. Uraraka patted his back encouragingly. Don't mind. Oh, it's Mr. Ida. He turned, and his face lit up, the embarrassment from before completely gone. Miss Eri. It's wonderful to see you in good health. Ida went to shake her hand, only for Todoroki to dryly comment, You're out of your seat again. While Ida festered, Mina protested, Man, Midoriya. It's so unfair. Yamamoto and Ida got to see this bundle of sunshine and happiness, too? What about us? What about class? The entire room fell deathly silent as a mummy walked in. Seriously, you guys always take so long to shut up? Aizawa-sensei? Izuku stammered, recognizing the man from his hospital visit on Saturday. What? Expecting someone else? You're covered in bandages. The class collectively exclaimed, earning only a shrug in response. The pro-hero turned homeroom teacher side. If you're going to let a few broken bones get in the way of your job, you'll never be a good hero. Ida nodded. Truly inspiring, sir. That and my insurance company wanted to raise my premium. Ida nodded. Financial advice as first years. Truly, UA is a premier academic facility. Aizawa sweat dropped. Is he a kiss ass or just that earnest? Anyways, no time to reflect on what happened Friday. We lost Monday and Tuesday. That means there's a lot of catching up to do. Kaminari, the lovable dumbass he is, groaned. Come on, sensei. Can't we ease into things? The teacher's eyes narrowed behind the white cloth. You've all heard of the sports festival, right? The class nodded, everyone familiar with the most significant sporting event in the country. Good, because, in case you forgot, in 3 weeks, you'll all be in it. What? Somehow, most of the class hadn't considered that by attending UA, they'd be in the UA Sports Festival. To call their reaction chaotic would do a disservice to the sheer calamity on display. Settle down. The calamity vanished, replaced by fear of the mummified pro-hero. This festival is gonna be your chance to get some agencies interested. It's the perfect way to show what you're made of against your peers. If you aren't gonna buck up and grab this opportunity by the shoulders, you should probably just leave now instead of face national ridicule. A heavy blanket of silence befell the class, none of the students particularly sure how to respond to the responsibility Aizawa just threw onto them. Izuku, in particular, was sweating. The sports festival, it's like the Japanese Olympics, millions of people, watching us, watching me, I'm not ready. Luckily, a small tapping on his leg snapped Izuku out of his funk. Deku and II, what's the sports festival? Deku and II? The heavy blanket was lifted to give way to uproarious laughter. Bakugu couldn't help but snicker at his derogatory nickname being used by the brat, while Uraraka was cry-laughing at the child's adorable pet name for her adopted brother. Hell, even Izuku was chuckling. I didn't know she was your sister, Midoriya. Your file didn't mention any siblings. Aizawa's gaze narrowed so harshly, the light seemed to fade from the world. Izuku was sweating bullets. Oh God, he probably has so many questions. And he's already suspicious that All Might was in his skinny form in front of me. Whatever. Q-Kid, don't keep her waiting. So lay back. Let's see. The sports festival is like a contest between all of the students at UA to see who's the best. At least, athletically. Eri nodded. So you're gonna be in it? He nodded. Yeah. I just hope I don't embarrass myself. Izuku rubbed his head sheepishly. Uraraka chimed in. Eri, you're gonna cheer for your Deku, right? The younger girl thought for a moment before nodding rather enthusiastically. Then she raised her arms towards Deku, silently asking to be picked up, which he did so, even though his heart was clenching like it never had before. All the girls, and Kirishima cooed. Mineta fumed from behind and whispered, Dang it, Midoriya. You need to let me borrow your sister sometime. Chicks love kids. I don't know if that's a good idea. Come on. At least let me see her in 10 years then. The grapist felt a strong hand on his shoulder and a wave of murderous intent. Slowly turning around, he came face to face with a glowering Yaoyorozu. Touch her and I'll turn you into a thermonuclear warhead. Nodding solemnly, the short boy turned back around and quickly began writing the kanji fort person on his hand and swallowing it, which did nothing to ease his growing terror at having most of the class mentally paint a target on his back. On that note, class rep, did you fill the rest of the positions? Ida stood up with the list of names. Yes, sir. For the role of secretary, we nom dash. I don't care who as long as it's done. Curses. Foiled again. Later that day. Man, I'm so freaking pumped for the festival. Kirishima exclaimed, balling his fists to contain his excitement. Tokoyami nodded. Although I'm not much for daytime, I admit I'm excited at the prospect of competing like this. I just hope I do not completely outshine all of you on the stage. Everybody ignored that. A growling sound filled the air. Dehida? The two in question turned to their brunette friend, the same violent aura from before now emanating even stronger. Uraraka? Let's do our best. She pumped her fist, earning a half-hearted, mostly terrified response. Mina rubbed her chin. Man, Uraraka's got mood swings for days. Tsu thankfully slapped Mineta before he could finish. I wonder if he'd take a women's studies class? Izuku scratched his chin as the bell for lunch resounded. Say, Uraraka, why do you want to be a hero? Oh, it's kinda embarrassing. She laughed sheepishly while rubbing her head as she, Ida, and Izuku with Eri descended the stairs to the cafeteria. Ida shook his head. Impossible. For one such as you, there can be no negative reason you could possibly say for why you wish to be a hero. I want money. Foiled again. She chuckled. It's such that my parents work so hard for me and they're still only barely scraping by. I feel like once I become a hero, I can finally take care of them and give them an easy life. Wasn't foiled, bravo. Ida clapped loudly and enthusiastically. Izuku nodded with a smile. That's definitely nothing to be embarrassed about. That's as great a reason for becoming a hero that I've ever heard. Tears threatened to form in the teen's eyes. You guys? Miss Uraraka, that sounds nice. Erigin. Uraraka endearingly cried as she glomped the small child for her sweetness. Ha! What's that sound? Ida asked, turning away from his friends to a nearby hall. Young Midoriya is here. All Might appeared from the hallway and pointed right to Izuku. All Might? Izuku asked, perplexed. All Might? I thought he was Eri pondered before Izuku clamped his hand over her mouth, nervously looking at Uraraka and Ida. The large man held up a wrapped bento. Lunch? Wanna eat with me? He's like a maiden. Uraraka guffawed as Izuku nodded, taking Eri's hand, still keeping her mouth shut with the other, as he joined his mentor. The trio walked to the teacher's lounge, where they were surprisingly met by Recovery Girl. The elderly woman smiled warmly at the two kids. Hello. Eri, do you remember me? The smallest one nodded. Yes. Hello again, Miss Recovery Girl. I'm glad to see you again. I was actually hoping to speak with you in private. Do you think that would be okay? Eri hesitated but agreed after seeing Izuku nod reassuringly. She let go and followed Recovery Girl to the nearby nurse's office, leaving the 2-1 for all users alone. All Might instantly deflated onto a couch, literally and figuratively, and gestured for Izuku to sit across from him. I brought Katsudon. I remember you saying it was your favorite. Oh, thanks. Izuku nodded graciously as they both started eating. All Might raised an eyebrow. What is it? Is it cold? Izuku frantically waved his hands. Oh, no, it's awesome. It's just that. Did you ask me to come here for any reason besides lunch or giving Eri to Recovery Girl? All Might looked surprised, but softly chuckled. You got me. Setting his food down, the pro hero leaned forward. As I'm sure Aizawa told you, the sports festival is coming up soon. Izuku nodded. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what I should do to prep for it, if I'm being honest. That's alright. But the reason I asked Recovery Girl to take Eri alone is because I want to ask a favor. All Might nodded. My time is running out. Every day, I get slightly weaker and the time I can spend in my hero form decreases. At this point, I'm only good for around 2 hours. That's it? Izuku paled, the realization that his hero was getting weaker at an exponential rate. Sorry about that. All Might lightly chopped his apprentice's head. Stop apologizing for things that aren't your fault. Sorry. God damn it. Look, how's your progress going with One for All? Oh, well, I can control it a little better, but it still takes a while to get it down. Although, it actually didn't take that long when I was fighting those villains at USJ. What was different then? Izuku remembered 13's words about the dangers of his quirk and then Eri's own admission that her quirk hurt others. I think I was just scared of doing a lot of damage to the villains, so it was, I don't know, easier to focus, I guess? All Might rubbed his chin. Seems like against human opponents, your subconscious mind helps you pump the brakes. That's good considering you won't have much time to regulate One for All in a real fight. The thing is, those villains at USJ were all told something by their boss. That I'm getting weaker? How did they know that? Regardless of their source, if some small-time villains know, it's not unreasonable to assume that some of the public knows. That's why I need you, as my successor, to go to the sports festival and make your mark. Tell everyone that you are here. All Might briefly transformed and held his hands out wide in a grand gesture. Izuku didn't move or speak for a moment, but eventually nodded. I won't let you down. Grinning, the symbol of peace deflated again. That's what I like to hear. With that being said, do you have any ideas of where to start with your preparations? I guess the best thing to do would be to increase how much of One for All I can draw out. I'm still on the lower end of the spectrum in the class, so a power boost might help. Nodding, All Might commented, in 3 weeks' time, you might be able to get yourself up to 5% instead of 3%. That'd be a fairly significant boost considering where you are now. What about the Sharingan? You mentioned you discovered a new power the other day. Oh yeah, I took some notes and based on observations, I think I can hypnotize people. All Might raised an eyebrow. Hypnosis? Izuku nodded. That's the only explanation I have. I think it's based on eye contact and I need to have a lot of focus, but based on my fight against Nomu, it's a good last resort if anything. Okay, so a new power. That also might help with Recovery Girl's analysis of your quirk. But what about your other abilities? Well, I actually copied some of Yaoyorozu's bow staff moves and Aizawa-sensei's tricks with his scarf at USJ. So I got the idea to maybe use my copying skill learn martial arts or something. All Might smiled. Hey, that's not a bad idea. Maybe you should talk to young Ojiro. For that matter, many of your classmates could give you some helpful advice. And with your quirk analysis skills, you'd be able to help them out, too. The door to the lounge opened again, revealing Recovery Girl and Eri, the latter of whom was happily licking a green lollipop, probably apple-flavored. Deku. She happily ran to her brother's side and gestured to be picked up, which the latter graciously did. Deku. All Might muttered. Hey Eri, did you have fun? She nodded with a content smile. Recovery Girl chuckled at the sight. She was a model patient. And she even joined me for lunch. Really? Did you find anything about her quirk factor? Nodding, the older heroine held up her clipboard. From her blood test, I found out that her quirk factor is heavily mutagenic. It's actually not dissimilar to yours, Midoriya. Izuku smiled and looked at the girl in his lap. Hey, looks like we match again. This earned a bright smile. Although hers actually affects her forehead instead of her eyes, like it is for you. Her forehead? Recovery girl nodded. It seems her horn is the focal point of her quirk. She also told me it glowed whenever she used her quirk. Oh, so what is he? Izuku stopped once he felt Eri shake in his lap, almost trembling. Eri? Recovery girl looked at the silent Eri in his lap. You should probably go back to class soon. Lunch is nearly over. Realizing the time, Izuku gasped and ran out of the room, Eri in tow. Thanks for lunch, All Might. He barely managed to say before the door shut behind him. Despite chuckling at his protégé's antics, All Might was perplexed. What happened? Recovery girl sighed and sat down. She had a lot of trouble talking about her quirk's function. All she could tell me was that it somehow hurt people. Truthfully, I spent most of our time together trying to determine her psychological scars more than her physical ones. Psychological scars? All Might asked, a heavy pit in his chest. The elder gravely nodded. I know we suspected abuse, but those scars on her arms, they're similar to those you'd see on lab-grown tissues. The ones designed to be harvested. You're saying someone was harvesting young Eri? All Might's already ghastly face was even more solemn. Was it for her quirk? She shrugged. I can't be sure, but based on how she trembles whenever someone tries to pry into what exactly her quirk does, I won't rule out the possibility. All Might deeply exhaled. Geez, I've heard of kidnapping kids with powerful quirks. This is new. And why would they do that? What purpose could it serve? Who knows? And truth be told, I'd rather not find out. All that really matters is that we help the girl recover. That's probably gonna be left to Izuku more than anyone, but it's important we be there to support him. And her. The male nodded before returning to his meal, although his appetite was long gone. Then he noticed the barely touched bento across from him. We were so caught up talking that he transformed and dashed out the teacher's lounge, gingerly holding the lunchbox. Young Midoriya. You forgot to eat. You can't go day without having lunch. Recovery girl just smiled at the smoke trail the novice teacher left behind. Well, he's got the support Midoriya part down. Just as long as he doesn't put too much pressure on the boy. You want us to help you with strength exercises? Shoji asked, perplexed at being approached so sudden by someone he hadn't really spoke to. Izuku nodded. You two are the strongest in the class by far, and since my quirk also boosts my strength, I figured you guys would have some really good advice for me. Sato rubbed his chin. I mean, I'm naturally muscular, so I'm not entirely sure how someone like you would go about bulking. Thanks. But I'd recommend supination bicep curls. Those really help me out. Shoji nodded. Also, make sure to really squeeze during your reps. Izuku looked up from his furious scribbling. Squeeze? The tentacled teen elaborated. If it helps, flex as hard as you can with the weight, then inhale sharply and try to push further. It's weird to say, but you'll know the feeling the second you feel it for the first time. Got it? Izuku finished those notes. Anything else? Maybe drink a protein shake after your workout. I usually go for the really sweet ones, but normal people probably should stick to low sugar if possible. Sato scratched his head for anything else. Besides that, I guess just sleep as much as you can. Izuku nearly busted a gut laughing. All Might's plan had me get literally the minimum amount of sleep possible. I'd recommend creatine as a supplement. However, it may not do too much good in the time before the festival. Shoji added. The greenette nodded. Thanks guys. This is really helpful. I, actually made some notes on your quirks if you want to hear them. I don't know, but maybe it'll help. They both nodded, curious as to the depths of Midoriya's quirk analysis skills. He flipped to the right page in his notebook and explained, so, for Sato, I was thinking about the effects that different types of sweeteners would have. Like brown sugar or honey or even artificial sweeteners. But I know that overusing your quirk impairs your cognition, so maybe you could ingest a more complex sugar, like starch. My prediction is that you'd probably have less strength and it'd take longer to activate, but because it's harder to digest, its effects would last longer and be less severe than if you just chugged sugar. Got it? Sato rubbed his head, feeling his cognition fade after the onslaught of information. As for Shoji, I don't know enough about your quirk to be very useful, but I was wondering if you ever thought about using intimidation as a weapon? The masked teen cocked his head. What do you mean? You have heroes like Gang Orca who look really scary, and because of that, a lot of villains tend to get thrown off their game just because they're unsettled. So if you could use your tentacles in a body horror type of way, you could give yourself a major advantage without much effort. Shoji rubbed his chin with one of his dupli arms. I've always known my appearance was fearsome, but weaponizing could produce interesting results, especially against some more animated villains. Thank you, Midoriya. This is very helpful. Izuku waved his hands in front of him. Oh, it's nothing really. I should be thanking you for all your advice. Really, I just do this for fun. Phew. 2 down, 16 to go. In his life, Izuku had done a lot of difficult things. Going to school back when he thought he was quirkless, for example. Or the American dream plans before the entrance exam. Or even facing down the anti-symbol of peace at USJ. However, training with Hagakure was definitely coming close to topping that list. Wrong. Honestly, Midoriya, are you even trying? Izuku groaned, relaxing his position as the invisible girl chastised him for the umpteenth time. In exchange for advice regarding her hero costume, Izuku suggested adding removable mirrors to the glove to increase the intensity of the light she could reflect as well as its range, and the rights to hold Eri. Toru agreed to train Izuku in stealth. He thought that her kind and bouncy personality would make this easy. As it turned out, her insane lack of patience made training even harder. I'm trying really. I just need a bit more practice is all. I'm not even sure if stealth is gonna help in the sports festival. I know the events are randomized each year, but try harder. What's not to get? Just move quietly. Like this. Izuku waited for a moment, but nothing seemed to change. Then he heard a whisper in his ear, see? He jumped back in surprise. Gah. See? She knows she's not wearing anything, right? That's amazing. How'd you do that? What do you think I've been trying to teach you? She screamed. Remember, just use the outside of your foot to walk and shift your body weight with the leading foot. He nodded. Got it? Izuku barely took a step when she screeched at him again. Wrong. You're shifting your weight against your leading foot. Do it with the lead. It makes it quieter. He sighed. Yes, ma'am. He tried again, this time taking care to carefully lean into each step. To his surprise, and his teacher's glee, it actually sounded slightly quieter on the gym's squeaky rubber flooring. Hey, that wasn't terrible. Izuku didn't even need to see her to know that Hagakure was bouncing up and down like an excited schoolgirl, which she technically was. Now do it again, but faster. So the cycle continued. Izuku would get yelled at until he got the maneuver right, at which point Toru would compliment him and subsequently raise the difficulty. Until it came time to figure out hand motions. Come on, just swing your arms like this. But I can't see what you're doing. You don't need to see what I'm doing. Just stop doing what you're doing. I'm really confused, Hagakure. Ugh, I thought your quirk let you see people or something. How did I not think of that? Izuku activated the Sharingan and grinned. Okay, time to get this stealth thing down. I could even copy Hagakure's moves to speed this up. I seriously can't believe the thought never occurred to me. Unfortunately, the second Izuku actually looked at Toru, he instantly realized why the Sharingan was the absolute worst quirk to use against the invisible and quite immodest girl. Ah, see what I did there? Now you do it, Midoriya. Midoriya? She turned to her student, only to find him lying down, his hands firmly clamped over his nose while he muttered something incomprehensible. Huh, guess he must have overexerted himself. Well, while he's down, Torune is coming for you. She skipped away to where the child in question was sitting, while Izuku murmured, So, he be bouncy. I don't know too much about this, Kirishima. Izuku nervously said as the redhead stood across from him on a rubber mat. He just waved the comment away. Nonsense. You want to be a man, then you gotta learn to take hits like one. I guess so, but I'm starting to think asking Kirishima was a bad idea. Enough talking. Let's do this. Kirishima brought his arm down in a hammer fist right onto Izuku's head. Oh, Izuku squeaked, but he didn't move, keeping his legs spread shoulder-width apart and his hands tucked firmly at his sides. Kirishima flashed a toothy grin. That's what I like to see. Be a rock. He continued to attack Deku, earning pained grunts and the occasional squeal, only ceasing the onslaught when the latter finally collapsed. Ha! That was awesome, Midoriya. Really manly stuff. Everything hurts. Come on. You told me you wanted to make your mark at the festival, right? Think how badass you'll look just tanking everyone's attacks. Why, I can't hear you. Yeah. Izuku shakily stood up and clenched his fists. Kirishima chuckled. That's the spirit. Now let me hear you roar. He howled in demonstration. Midoriya's roar was weak. Bro. That sucked. Come on, roar. Ga. I said roar. That's it. Shut the fuck up. Bakugo screeched from the other end of the UA gym. The redhead and greenette fell deathly silent. Unfortunately for him, Kaminari did not. Dude, you know Aries here, right? He pointed to the floating child, Uraraka's turn to play with her, that was staring at the ash blonde with a curious look. Bakugo went pale. Kirishima laughed. Dude, you broke Baku bro. Eri turned to the brunette keeping her afloat. Miss Uraraka, what does that word mean? Oh, it's a bad word. So you should never say it? Nailed it. Uraraka mentally patted herself on the back. But, what does it mean? Eri, why? Uraraka's face flushed red and started sweating profusely. Deku, wanna take over? I can't. I'm Kirishima? He looked pleadingly at his training partner. The redhead thought quickly, he breaks over. So, I need to hit you again, right? Sorry, Uraraka, but I trust you to do it. Uraraka's eyes narrowed. I think Eri can wait for you to finish, right Eri? The young girl nodded. I don't want to interrupt Deku and I's training. I'll just ask him when he's done. Uraraka smirked victoriously and looked at the now sweating duo. Kirishima's eyes widened. Dude, they're in it for the long haul. Deku paled. I can either explain what that word means or get beaten into unconsciousness. Kirishima finished the sentence for him. Izuku looked at his friend. A man would face his problems head-on, right? Ejiro nodded. Izuku took a deep breath and steeled his gaze. Then I only have one choice. And that's why Izuku spent the rest of the day in a full-body cast. Uraraka laughed. I still can't believe you let Kirishima wail on you like that. I can't believe Eri asked my mom what it meant at dinner. Izuku nearly face-bombed, remembering the stroke his mom nearly had when the youngest Midoriya popped the question with a mouthful of pie. The two of them were jogging along Dagoba Beach to enjoy the cool sea breeze on the hot Saturday morning. What's that like? Just suddenly having a new family member like that? Uraraka asked after a moment's silence. Izuku pondered the question. I guess it's nice. Like it's definitely weird since it's just been my mom and I for a long time, but having Eri around makes everything seem, I don't know, brighter? He wasn't so sure as to how to describe the warmth he felt with his newfound sister besides that. That sounds really nice. Uraraka spoke unusually softly. What was that? Hey, are you okay? Izuku asked concernedly. What? Oh yeah, I'm good. She plastered the biggest smile she could on her face. Unfortunately, it also looked like the fakest. You sure? Did I say something wrong? I'm sorry about that. She suddenly slowed to a stop. Izuku did the same, worry etched onto his face. Damn it. I did say something. Idiot. I think I just... Her voice broke. Miss my family is... Oh, I'm sorry. Izuku scratched the back of his head, scouring his mind for anything to say of comfort. You don't need to apologize. She chuckled. Sorry to put this on ya. Guess I was just feelin' lonely or something. She rubbed her eyes while keeping her focus on the ground. You know, it's weird to live by yourself. I know I can't really relate to your situation, and I get that it's probably tough to move here by yourself, but it's not like you're alone. She looked at him, eyes tinged red. He stammered and looked away. Do you have me? His voice decided to crack on that last word. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Then they were laughing like there was no tomorrow. Deku, you're really dorky, you know? Uraraka clutched her stomach, the laughter so intense it hurt. Izuku tried and failed to contain his snickering. Sorry. He finally got in under control and finished his thought from earlier. I mean, you have your friends here. So like Ida and Ishido and Tsuyu and Yayorozu and Kirishima and Dash. Huh, I got it. Izuku added, and if you're ever feeling lonely at your place, just come visit me. Eri would love it and my mom would probably fawn over you like crazy. She might cry too. Thanks, you know. You're a really good friend. She smiled brightly at the boy. Oh, it's nothing really. I just like it when you smile. His face flushed after pondering his words. I didn't mean it like that. I mean, I did but not like that, you know. Uraraka wasn't doing much better, blushing and stammering furiously. She even clamped her hands over her cheeks, causing her to start floating away and prompting a quick break to the flusterfest. Let's keep running. Yeah, that sounds good. I didn't know ya had an accent. Shut up. Izuku walked up to Bakugu as the lunch bell rang, Eri leaving hand in hand with Koda, lover all of things cute. Hey, Kaken. Wanna do some training later? Fuck off. Got it. Good talk. Hey, Tokoyami. Do you wanna train with me later? Izuku asked the next day at lunch. The Birdman rubbed his jaw beak. The proposition is interesting but I'm not sure if your sister would take kindly. He gestured to the girl currently hiding behind Izuku's leg, staring wide-eyed at the feathered student in a profound mixture of curiosity and fear. Eri, what's wrong? I know she was sheltered but I still thought she'd know about quirk-based mutations. She gasped and looked away, an embarrassed look on her face. Sorry. Fumicage's normally stern expression relaxed. It's fine. It happens more than you'd think. Still, she doesn't act like this around Shoji and he's way more intimidating. I'll try to take that as a compliment. Oh, sorry. Looking back at Eri, Izuku placed a reassuring hand over her horn, which seemed to have shrunken slightly in the last few weeks, and softly asked, You sure you're okay? You can tell me. She whispered, They had masks? They? Izuku paled. She means her kidnappers. They had bird masks? Tokoyami cocked his head. I take it to mean she means a mask that resembles my face? Perhaps a plague mask from the olden days in Europe? Olden days? But hey, I remember those masks with the beaks. Wow, Tokoyami. How do you think about that? I often find myself drawn to imagery from that time. So, Izuku laughed nervously. You really like that dark stuff, huh? You should see him when he reads Edgar Allan Poe. He smiles like it's the Black Friggin' Plague. Dark Shadow popped out energetically, much to his host's chagrin. Get inside. Fumicage growled as he forced his sentient quirk to reseed into his body. Unfortunately, the already on edge Eri wasn't prepared for a jump scare and promptly ran out the classroom shrieking. Eri, I'll have to get her. Sorry, Tokoyami. Izuku ran out the class, but not without one last thought. Wait, he smiles at the Black Plague. Ida breathed deeply. I'm ever so glad you asked me to run with you, Midoriya. It truly makes me feel as if the bond between us is growing stronger and more robust. Izuku wheezed in response, his stamina spent in the mad sprint he had to perform just to keep Ida from fading into the distance. He didn't even know how that was possible given they were at the UA jogging track, but apparently anything was possible when it came to the overly sincere, overly quick class representative. I see you've already started to push yourself. I'd expect nothing less from someone of your caliber. You continue to inspire me. Izuku wheezed again, managing to wave a hand, either in modesty at the compliment or in agony at the searing pain in his lungs and legs and entire body. I see. This must be some new form of breathing to increase lung capacity. Ida's glasses reflected light as he stood tall. I knew you were seeking advice from our classmates, but to think you're already bettering yourself by implementing them into your everyday workout? Izuku wheezed. Every day, doing this? I'd rather give him one for all. Hell, if he does this every day, he probably deserves it. Such devotion to your respiratory training. You are clearly superior to me, but I will not give in so easily. Why? Really? Have the wrong opinion of me. I'm just the nerd. Ida laughed merrily. Such modesty. One day soon, I'll show the world that I can stand amongst you and Bakugu and Todoroki. Todoroki? I haven't really spoken to him, but he got in through recommendations and got second in the fitness test. His hero costume is kinda strange though. He nodded, of course. The three of you are probably the most powerful in the class at the moment. Although, you're admittedly more of a glass cannon, but you compensate for that with your intelligence. But why Todoroki? I haven't really seen much of him. How strong is he? Izuku finally managed to stand up straight, the fire in his lungs shrinking. Oh, I forgot that you were being healed during his match. During the battle trial, Todoroki instantly froze the entire building and defeated Ojiro and Hagakure. It was quite the spectacle. Izuku's face blanched, instantly. Like, he did that in one move. Ida nodded. It was truly inspiring, but also intimidating. But such feelings can only push me further. Come, Midoriya, the warm-up is over. Warm-up? Izuku squeaked. Ojiro brought his tail down hard across Midoriya's face, knocking the greenette down. Oh, was that too fast for you? Sorry. Izuku spit whatever saliva/blood was knocked around from the attack and shook his head with a smile. Nah, that was awesome. And I'm learning a lot from just watching you. Even I can keep up with his movements. He's too fast for me to react. You said your quirk lets you mimic movements, right? How does that work? Ojiro took a drink of water to give Izuku some time to recover. He rubbed his head. It's kinda weird to explain. It's sorta like I just remember some moves really clearly and then when I try to replicate the move, my body sorta clicks into place. Ojiro just shrugged. I don't really get it, but I guess it'd be like if I tried to tell you what having a tail felt like. Still, I could teach you some basic blocks and grabs if you want something to actually copy. Izuku perked up. Really? That'd be awesome. But I guess you'd have to watch, so I need someone to perform the moves on. Midoriya, I need your magic eyes. I found a peephole to the girls' locker room and you might be able to see through it. Ojiro looked at Mineta then at Izuku, raising his eyebrow with a slight smile. Izuku's eyes widened. I don't know. Remember what he said to Eri the other day? Hey, Mineta. Can you help us with something? Mina clapped her hands together in rhythm. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 stop. Midoriya. She sighed exasperatedly. Izuku ceased the two-step and sighed, an apologetic smile on his face. Sorry, Ashido. It's embarrassing. What's embarrassing about dancing? Besides, you said you wanted to learn some flips and stuff. So you gotta learn the basics first. I can just watch you do it once and then it's done. You really don't need to waste your time on me. Mina's eyes twinkled mischievously. Oh, so you're going to watch me closely, huh? Gonna pay real close attention to how my body moves? Her voice alternated between sly and sultry with alarming ease. Izuku's face went bright red and he turned away from his temporary teacher. That's not how IIWP put it. And after you already paid such close attention to me during Aizawa-sensei's exam. Mina slowly walked towards Izuku, each step accompanied by a slight swing. The shade of red on Izuku's cheeks deepened to a level long thought impossible. Oh, that's right. I noticed. And it made me very interested. She dragged a finger down Izuku's cheek. What? The greenette jumped back and completely seized up, his entire body screeching in a profound mixture of epinephrine, cortisol, and a variety of other hormones and neurotransmitters telling him to either run or run while screaming. Her raucous laughs luckily stopped his mental breakdown. Man, Midori, you're too much fun. She knows there's an extra syllable. I've told her like 50 times. But where's the fun in just copying my moves? Nah, I want you to work for them. Besides, it's kind of fun. Izuku looked down. You're right. Ashido giggled. Of course I am. Now come on and get this two-step. Yes, ma'am. Out of all the students in Class 1A, the one Izuku most wanted help from was Ojiro, then Sada, then Ashido, and so on and so forth. Ryuma was at the bottom of that list, only because Mineta was intentionally excluded. So it came as a surprise when he and Kaminari were suddenly dragged away during free training by the titular pseudo-Frenchman. What's going on? Izuku asked, nervously scratching his head. Not to be rude, but are you gonna kill us? Kaminari eyed the secluded corner the trio was standing in, curiously out of sight from the rest of the class. Aoyama laughed haughtily. Je suis désolé, but I wanted to bring us three together for a surprise. But why? Kaminari readied his quirk just in case he was right about Aoyama's intentions. Because we are all the same. We're like les trois mousquetaires. Aoyama, I think that Kaminari and I are still a little lost. Aoyama just chuckled. Without my dazzling support belt, naval laser would constantly leak out and hurt my stomach. My doctors tell me that my body just isn't suited for my quirk. He looked at the other two with a knowing glint. You two hurt yourselves with your own quirks too, right? Izuku and Kaminari were dumbfounded. This is the same Aoyama who spent half of the class costume budget on a cape infused with diamond. Do you not like the surprise? And no, it's great. Just surprising is all. Kaminari rubbed his hair, embarrassed at his earlier accusations. It's because I saw you training so much and becoming impatient. Aoyama turned to Izuku, his face uncharacteristically serious. For us three, there's no reason to struggle alone. Otherwise, how could we ever shine? I thought he was scary, but he's actually trying to help. Thank you, Aoyama. This is an awesome surprise. Izuku grinned at the sparkly blonde appreciatively. Bien entendu, but the surprise isn't over. We're gonna commemorate the first meeting of Les Trois Cassettaires by sharing our feelings. Kaminari, what are you doing to help you sparkle? Well, first, I know my French is bad, but I'm pretty sure you made that word up. Debatable, but continue. Well, I guess I'm just trying to work on cycling a small amount of electricity through my body so I don't fry my brain or my nerves. Izuku suddenly lit up. Wait a minute, you're spreading your power out? Taken aback, Kaminari elaborated. Well, if I try to focus my electricity in just one body part, I could damage my nerve endings, and you saw what happens if I just let loose at full power. I see. Izuku's brain was in full-on ramble mode, but that didn't deter Aoyama. Merci, Kaminari. I find it difficult to control naval laser's intensity, so instead, I prefer to control the duration it's active. Does that work? Izuku snapped out of his rambling. He nodded. Evidement. If I only use it for a brief moment, it only hurts the slightest bit. Whoa! Izuku shot up and flashed a manic grin. Thanks, you guys. I know what I need to do. Kaminari protested. Huh? But we all shared? What a boodash. Let him go. Aoyama stated, brilliant tears falling from his shimmering eyes. He's going to sparkle. Izuku nodded with a grin. Seriously, you guys? Thanks. He ran off, leaving the others behind. In that case, let's make friendship bracelets. Why not? Hey, Yaoyorozu. Izuku called to his fellow deputy rep while she twirled her bow. What is it, Midoriya? Izuku stared right at her with uncharacteristically excited eyes. I have a really good idea for my quirk, but I need some help with the logistics of it. Can you help me? She cocked her head. Huh? Maybe you should ask Cementos or Ectoplasm. I'm sure they'd be able to help you much better than I could. Izuku shook his head. Trust me, you're probably the only person who can help me. Huh? Momo's face lit up appreciatively, but she managed to rein it in before she went full bounce. Okay, how about you spar with me and we'll talk it about in the meantime? Izuku nodded with a confident smile. Deal. 2 days before the festival. Uraraka, Izuku, and Ida got into position and called up, we're ready. From above the cliff at the USJ landslide zone, 13 nodded, got it. We'll start now. He turned to the rescuers and instructed, Bakugo, Yaoyorozu, Tokoyami, and Todoroki. You four need to save those three with the provided materials in a timely manner. Your time starts now. 13 joined the rest of the students and a heavily bandaged Aizawa in observing the mock rescue. Bakugo growled, let's just blow up the cliff. What are you crazy? Yaoyorozu chastised. Tokoyami sighed, this is about what I expected from you. Fuck off, bird brain. Todoroki knelt by the stretcher and rope. Yaoyorozu, make a series of pulleys to pull them up. Tokoyami, you go down and use dark shadow to push them up as far as you can. Bakugo, Yaoyorozu, and I will pull them up the rest of the way. Got it? Tokoyami nodded, appreciative to the hybrid quirk user's decisiveness. Bakugo instantly protested, wait, why am I stuck doing this boring shit? And why the fuck should I listen to you? Todoroki glared, I don't want to waste any more time than I have to on this exercise. Either help out or get out of the way. Before the argument could continue, Yaoyorozu intervened. Both of you, be quiet. If you can't take this seriously and work together, then why are you even here? We need to cooperate to succeed in school and in the real world. And besides, first, we need to reassure the victims. The explosive teen growled but didn't put up any more resistance while Todoroki just stayed silent as Yaoyorozu called down to the injured students. From below, Izuku and Uraraka were doing their best not to snicker at Ida's overwhelming seriousness. Please save us. Uraraka is dying. Help. Yes. We hear you, Ida. Tokoyami deadpanned, slightly put off by the class republic. Uraraka's unconscious, yes? Izuku nodded, but Ida and I are injured so we can't really help you put her on the stretcher. Tokoyami shrugged, doesn't matter. I always have help. Dark Shadow popped out at that moment and growled, posing intimidatingly over the 4 students. Does he look bigger? I could have sworn he was Tokoyami's size. Izuku gazed in awe as the sentient quirk, with great resistance, carried the Uraraka-laden stretcher up the cliffside, stopping about 2/3 the way up, coincidentally by the edge of the shadow that blanketed the rocky bottom in darkness. From there, it wasn't long until the other 2 were back up the cliff, much to Ida's great relief. Thank you, heroes. That made Uraraka and Izuku burst out laughing, unable to contain their amusement any further. Even the stoic Tokoyami and serious Yaoyorozu smiled at the scene. 13 stood in front of the class again. Now, can someone tell me who the MVP was for this round? Given that Yaoyorozu was one of the participants, nobody raised their hand to answer. Much to the Space Hero's annoyance, it was Bakugo. That came as a surprise, at least based on everyone's reactions. Huh? Bakugo's quirk is ill-suited to an operation like this. The fact that he stayed back and kept out the way by not using his quirk to pull everyone up is proof that he thought about the best way he could help and executed it well. Izuku smiled at that. Even if he's kind of an ass, he's definitely one of the smartest people in the class. And to think he'd put his ego aside. Maybe Kaken's really changing. 1 hour later. Or maybe not. Izuku's sweat dropped while Bakugo ranted at being forced to work with others for the citywide rescue operation at the ruin zone. 13 had just assigned the former 2, Uraraka, and Mineta the job of heroes while the other 16 students were to hide in the cityscape and pretend to be injured. Essentially, it was hide and seek, but for a grade. And awesome. Bakugo, let's just try to get along and do our best, huh? Uraraka placated, nervously laughing while moving in front of Izuku, just in case. Who are you? Her composure broke with her pride. What? We literally fought each other in the battle trial. We've talked before. I don't think so. While they argued, Mineta looked around excitedly. Hey, if we have to rescue all the other girls, then we can touch their butts and chests, right? When we carry them? Izuku's sweat dropped. You're not allowed to carry anyone, Mineta. Could you even physically manage carrying someone? 13 announced 5 minutes for everyone to hide and then ordered the hero team to start the rescue operation. Okay, I can look for everyone with my Sharingan. Once I find someone, we can dash. Fuck off, I'll do it myself. Bakugo blasted off to God knows where, leaving his 3 partners behind. To be fair, he stuck around a lot longer than I thought he would. Izuku deadpanned. Anyways, I was actually gonna suggest we split up once I locate the others. Uraraka and Mineta nodded in agreement, so Izuku went ahead with his search. Sharingan. Okay. I can see Ojiro in the building right there, Kyoka hiding under that red car. Oh, Todoroki's in the building next door. That's everyone I can see from here, so I guess we just go from there. They agreed and split off, with Midoriya rescuing Ojiro, Mineta rescuing Todoroki, oh the irony, and Uraraka saving Jiro. Man, I don't know how you found me. Jiro chuckled as Uraraka released her quirk on the car she lifted off the former. Well, Deku found you with his quirk. I'm actually supposed to look for the others now. Run. Ida cried as he sped towards the 2 girls. Uraraka smiled. Ida, I found you. Why is he running like that? Run. There's a villain. Ida tackled Kyoka and Uraraka, narrowly avoiding the rock that sailed through the air. Looking up, the 2 girls paled. And no freaking way. Jiro felt her blood run cold at the sight of a massive, muscular man with a black shirt, camo combat pants, and a full-face mask slowly stalking towards them, casually carrying someone's limp form with one hand. Uraraka narrowed her eyes on the unconscious body in the man's grasp and felt her heart drop. Todoroki? The strongest in our class. Hello, children. His voice was muffled by the mask, yet its menace was clear. Let's make this as painless as possible. He raised his free hand and waved it, creating a shockwave that blew the 3 students back. Guys? What's going on? Izuku called, running towards the source of the disturbance and nearly fainted at the sight of 3 of his classmates facing off against an intimidatingly large villain. Mineta cried, "A villain? Again?" Ojiro ran to Aizawa and 13, "Sensei, we're under attack, again." "Sure," Aizawa dully remarked. 13 hissed, "Senpai, this is serious." Sighing, Aizawa spoke again, somehow even duller than before, "Oh no. What a mystery this is. And we're completely incapacitated?" 13 pointed to the exit enthusiastically, "Get everyone to escape. You're on your own, unfortunately." I feel like I'm missing something," Ojiro remarked as he ran away from the teachers. "Everyone, head for the exit." The villain just laughed, "As if I'd let you." He stomped once and made the earth shake. When the dust cleared, a massive chunk of the ruins zone had been leveled. "Now there's nowhere to hide." "Who's hiding, dipshit?" Bakugo roared as he fired an explosion right into the villain's face. However, it didn't even make him flinch. "You'll have to do better than that." The villain tried to grab Bakugo, only for the explosive teen to blast out of the way and counterattack. Bakugo growled at the lack of visible damage. "I'll kill this asshole, you hear me? So you extras just get out of my way." Realization dawned on Izuku's face. Trying to buy us time to escape? He really has changed. "Everyone, we can't let Bakugo do this himself while we run." Ida called to the assembled students. Yaoyorozu nodded. "We're all Class 1A, right? If we cooperate, we can definitely win." Everyone smiled at the encouragement and readied themselves for battle. Izuku rolled his shoulders and readied his quirks. "Sharingan, that villain's faster than I can keep up with, but he looks familiar. In fact, I've definitely seen this energy signature before. Let's go." Ida cried like a general as he led 17 students to battle. The villain turned away from Bakugo and smirked at the united front displayed. He readied himself for another mighty stomp. Unfortunately for him, Izuku said the last thing he wanted to hear at the moment, "All Might?" The students all stopped and stared at the greenette like he was crazy, oblivious to the nervously sweating mess before them. "Midoriya, what are you talking about?" Ribbit, Azui remarked. Izuku pointed to the villain. "With my quirk, he looks the same as All Might." Class 1A stared accusingly at the villain and took a few menacing steps towards him, which he responded with by stepping back. At that moment, Bakugo blasted up and ripped the mask off, revealing a chiseled and familiar, blonde visage. "I am here," All Might said rather meekly, slightly embarrassed to have been caught prematurely. Todoroki suddenly moved and sighed. "Looks like the plan didn't work." He freed himself from All Might's grasp and dusted himself off. All Might cleared his throat. "Sorry for the deception, but I thought it important that you all have some more experience dealing with villains. Too many of you felt that what happened a few weeks ago was just a freak accident. But spontaneous and unexpected villain attacks are all too standard for a hero. My only hope is that you all learned." The hero stopped talking once he realized that nearly every student was glaring at him with hate. "I'm sorry?" For the next 5 minutes, All Might was treated like everyone's verbal punching bag until he was reduced to a blithering, broken mess. Aizawa just sighed. "I knew it." Izuku sighed, but with relief. "I'm just glad it was a drill and not a real attack." This made the other students stop and smile slightly. "Midoriya's right. That's something to be happy about," Yaoyorozu commented. Ida nodded. "And at least this kept us on our toes before the festival." All Might smiled joyously. "Midoriya, my boy." And just like that, all previously built goodwill was gone. "Don't, Midoriya, my boys." That afternoon, Izuku went to Recovery Girls Clinic to pick up Eri, and check in on the still sobbing form of his mentor, then went to one of the study rooms for a student council meeting. Mr. All Might looked really sad. Eri commented dejectedly as she sat in her brother's lap by the Class 1A table. Izuku nervously laughed. He gave us a, interesting surprise. Ida and Yaoyorozu were still fuming, but at least stopped their profanities for the sake of present company. So did the other 3 student council members. Once the tables were all filled, an orange-haired girl from Class 1B stood up. Okay, I think we're all here, so why don't we begin? Typical hero course. Who made you leader? A guy with purple hair and rather dark eyes commented from the Class 1C table. A guy from Class 1B with silver hair, incredibly thick and prominent lashes and familiarly sharp teeth jumped up. Hey, what's your damage? You want to take this outside, Einstein? Tetsu, please? The orange girl waved him down. Sorry about that. To answer your question, well, nobody. But if you're volunteering, then by all means. The girl responded as she sat down, her irritation gracefully subdued. The purple man shrugged and stood up. I'm Hitoshi Shinso. We're from Gen Ed, so we're really only here to see what the fuss is about. And now that I see you, I'm not impressed. Shinso was looking directly at Class 1A as he spoke. Depending on how we do on Friday, the Hero Department will consider our transfer applications. So none of us are here to make friends or whatever. We're just here to see who we need to beat. He sat down, leaving a palpably awkward silence in the air, only broken by, you're gonna lose. Round 1. Calling it right now? Guess you Class A kids really are as pretentious as you seem. Whatever. That'll just make dealing with you all the sweeter. A blonde kid with pale blue eyes joked from the 1B table. Who's this punk? Bakugu turned to Izuku. Cover her ears tightly. Once Izuku complied, much to Eri's confusion, Bakugu unleashed the storm. Bitch? I'll fucking kill you, you Aryan fuck. You seriously wanna talk all this shit with your smug, sunburns easily looking ass? Come at me, motherfucker. I'll fucking vaporize you. After a moment of pause for the echo to fade out, Ida went into full Ida mode. Bakugu, stop this at once. This is no way for our treasurer to act. He bowed to the other tables. Apologies. Please continue. The rest of the council was stunned silent, but the orange girl from before managed to close her jaw enough to speak. Itsuka Kendo, the class representative. This is Tetsu, our deputy representative. The lovely person to my left is Nito Monoma, our secretary, and Dash. She was cut off by Bakugu's raucous laughter. What was his name? Yaoyorozu hissed. Apologies for our treasurer. His name's Katsuki Bakugu. Whispers filled the air as people recognized the name of the top-scoring participant in the entrance exam by a long shot, at least in terms of villain points. And this is Tenya Ida, our class representative. Our secretary is Ejiro Kirishima and our historian is Mina Ishido. My name's Momo Yaoyorozu and I'm co-deputy representatives with Izuku Midoriya. She gestured to the greenette with the child. Oh, and this is Eri. Shinso's eyes immediately narrowed. You're Izuku Midoriya? Top score on the entrance exam. Izuku shifted back in his seat from the sudden attention but nodded. The blonde boy from 1B, Monoma, smirked. Oh, so you're the one who got injured. You don't look all that tough. You sure you belong here? Before anyone else could retort, a soft and shy voice spoke. Dequinai's the strongest? Eri wouldn't look at Monoma, opting instead to twiddle her thumbs shyly, but the recipient was clear off of context. Monoma smirked at Eri. You babysitting or something? Who let the annoying brat in? Oi, only I can call her a brat. Bakugu growled. Kirishima stood up defensively. Insult our Midoriya all you want, but nobody messes with Eri. Mina cracked her knuckles. I'm so gonna enjoy this more than I should. Ida fixed his glasses. I normally wouldn't condone this, but you are out of line, good sir. He rolled up his pants, revealing his exhaust ports. Kendo raised her hands placatingly. Wait, let's keep calm. Yaoyorozu nodded. Seriously, we shouldn't resort to violence. Even if he is a punk, something. She blushed at her inability to say the profanity. Luckily, Izuku was ready to quell the storm for the second time that day. Guys, it's fine. Eri, are you okay? She nodded with a blank expression. I couldn't really hear him. His voice got all nasally. Oh. The Class 1A students sat back down, rather embarrassed at their display, while Monoma seethed, the only thing stopping him from a full-scale eruption being Kendo's hand over his mouth. She chuckled nervously. I'm really sorry about that. Why don't we continue? This was supposed to be about class intros for the sports festival, right? Izuku couldn't pay attention to the rest of the intros. Instead, he was too caught up thinking about Monoma and Shinso. I don't know why they're like this, but I definitely don't want to lose to them, of all people. For that matter, I want to win. Besides, he looked at the child in his lap and reflected on the two other important people in his life. I've got people counting on me too. It was a bright and sunny Friday morning in Mizudafu, Japan. The air was positively alive, the May heat gently warming the earth. And across said earth, civilians everywhere brimming with excitement over what was to come, the much-anticipated UA Sports Festival. Today's the day. After all the training I did, it's finally here. Izuku slowly chewed on his rice, unable to muster up much of an appetite. Izuku, sweetie? Inko placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You've barely touched your food. You need your strength, you know? He smiled appreciatively at his mom. Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking is all. She nodded knowingly. You know, it's okay to be nervous. I mean, it's the UA Sports Festival. You're amazing just for participating. Dezuka laughed. I know. But I'm not really nervous per se. I mean, it's kinda scary to be on stage in front of the whole world, but I've also been working for this for so long. It's weird, but it's like I'm somewhere between nervous and excited, you know what I mean. Nope. Inko deadpanned, but chuckled soon after. But I know you're gonna do your best. Now hurry up and finish so we can go. You too, young lady. Yes, ma'am. Eri said obediently as she devoured her daily morning apple with gusto, earning coups from the other two family members. I should really thank All Might again for giving them tickets. Izuku thought as he finally finished his breakfast and changed into his gym uniform. The train station was absolutely packed with people heading to the UA stadiums, so it was only natural that the Midoriyas were assaulted with a steady stream of, hey, good luck, and do your best, and we're rooting for ya, among other pieces of encouragement once they saw Izuku's gym uniform. On the train itself, a few kids gathered around the middle Midoriya to hear exciting stories about UA and what his quirk was, much to the latter's embarrassment. Inko, on the other hand, was already about to bawl at the attention her son was receiving, even though Eri pouted slightly at having Deku eyes attention diverted. But it wasn't long until they arrived at the UA gates and the family had to separate. All right, we're supposed to head straight to our seats in the first-year stadium. Izuku nodded. I think I need to go to the waiting area for students so that we can make our entrance. Inko smiled and cupped her son's cheek. Hey, do your best. We're gonna be cheering for you. Eri nodded and, after a moment's hesitation, hugged Izuku's leg. Good luck, Deku. Izuku looked at his family and grinned confidently. Thanks. I'll see you afterwards. Once they left for the stadium entrance, Izuku made for the student entrance, only for a strong hand to cup his shoulder. Yo, young Midoriya. All Me dash, another hand clamped over his mouth. All Might hissed. I'm skinny right now. He removed his hand from Izuku's face, cautiously watching the moving crowd around them. Sorry. What are you doing here? All Might grinned, probably scaring a few kids with his skeletal visage. I came to see how you were doing. He gestured for Izuku to follow and led him down the student path. Oh, I'm good, thanks. And my mom and Eri really liked the tickets. Thanks again. He laughed. It's nothing. Recovery Girl insisted anyways. She thought it'd be good for young Eri. Is she doing better? Izuku nodded, smiling. Yeah, she's doing really well. She and my mom are getting really close too. I'm glad to hear that. All Might looked straight at his protege. But how are you doing? Izuku was taken aback. You feel ready for the sports festival? Nervous? Excited? We haven't really had much time to catch up the last few weeks. Besides 2 days ago when you traumatized half the class. Izuku sheepishly chuckled at the memory. I'm feeling good actually. I got the Sharingan's time limit to around 10 minutes of straight use. All Might flashed a huge smile. Hey, that's great news. That'd probably help with some of the preliminary events. But what about one for all? Did you increase your limit at all? Izuku nodded. Yeah, I can manage about 5% now. But I actually figured out a couple really cool things to do with one for all. See, I let it dash. All Might held up a polite hand. Hey, I think it'd be better if you surprised me with this. Besides, we're already at your stop. True to word, the duo was right by the Class 1A waiting room. Oh. Izuku looked down and sighed. I haven't forgotten, you know. What you asked me to do. This kid, All Might placed a hand on Izuku's head and softly rustled his hair. Good man. I'll be cheering for you. He removed his hand and went to the elevator to the teacher's viewing box. Izuku touched his hair where All Might had ruffled it and smiled, a warm tint on his cheeks. Oh, Deku. Uraraka called from one of the tables. Yaoyorozu and Kirishima waved to him from across the table. Deku grinned back. Hey, you feel ready? Uraraka laughed nervously. I thought I was, but man, do I feel nervous now. Ribbit, you're probably not ready then. Azui, Yaoyorozu chastised. Be more considerate. You're one to talk. Ribbit. Izuku laughed sheepishly at the two dejected females' comically downtrodden expressions. They're all clearly nervous, but they're definitely gonna give it their all. I have some really awesome friends, don't I? Midoriya. A serious and rather monotonous voice interrupted his thoughts. He turned around. Todoroki? What's up? The taller boy looked dead into Izuku's eyes with unusual intensity. It's safe to say that I'm stronger than you. Huh? I mean, yeah. What's going on? I don't know why, but All Might's got his eye on you, doesn't he? Izuku's face went stark white. Does he know about one for all? No, he just suspects something, but what? Todoroki sighed. I'm not gonna make you answer. But I'm going to beat you. The entire class was focused now. Kaminari joked. Man, you're really in it for Midoriya's blood. Todoroki coldly retorted. I'm not here to pretend to make friends. Hey, that's uncalled for, Todoroki. There's being competitive and then there's being flat-out hostile. Yaoyorozu said sternly. The dual quirk user was silent for a moment before sighing and turning away. I should say something. Unfortunately for the greenette, the door opened wide to reveal the always energetic class rep. Everyone, we're going out first. Let's go. Did I miss something? He said, noting the tense atmosphere. No. Todoroki bumped past him on his way out. Ignoring that, everyone lined up by class number and waited by the stadium entrance. Midoriya. Yaoyorozu whispered from behind Mineta. You okay? I don't know what's up with Todoroki. Izuku nodded with a slight smile. Yeah, I'm fine. I actually wanted to talk to him, but I guess that'll have to wait. Without further ado, let's kick off the first-year stage. Present Mick's voice cut through the air on the stadium loudspeakers. They're the ones T.O. watched this year. Fresh off a villain attack and tougher than ever, it's the Hero Courses class. Everyone took a collective breath and stepped into the sunlight, allowing themselves to get swept up in the crowd's cheers. Uraraka gasped. Wow, there's so many people. I don't like this. Izuku squeaked, all his prior confidence gone. I wonder where Mom and Eri are. I could probably find them with the Sharingan, but there's so many people, I might just burn it out. Mina commented, wow, they're really hyping us up. Don't know how that's gonna sit with the other classes. Kirishima deadpanned as he remembered the disaster that was the student council meeting. Present Mike continued to call the other 7 classes and had all the students assemble around the stage where an interesting figure stood. Please give it up for your referee for the first-year stage, the R-rated hero, Midnight. The titular heroine smirked and brandished her whip with a profound swing of her hips. Representing the first-year students is Class 1A's Izuku Midoriya. Huh. Midoriya, go. Yaoyorozu hissed, pushing him towards the stage. But what? He timidly walked up the steps and approached the mic. Kirishima scratched his head. I guess it's 'cause Midoriya got first on the entrance exam. On the hero course exam. One of the Gen Ed students retorted dryly with a glare. Izuku gulped. Nobody told me I had to speak. There's so many people. Echelo. He muttered into the mic, unwittingly causing a static whine to reverberate throughout the arena. Grasping his ears, Aizawa remarked from the announcer's box. You know, I don't think I told Midoriya that he was gonna give a speech. Present Mick's eyes bulged. Seriously? Aizawa nodded, causing the blonde to fall into hysterics. Man, Shota. You're a terrible person. WLII. This is bad. People are already getting bored. I need to make a good impression and fast. What do I say? Shinso smirked. Looks like he wasn't much after all. Man, this is the best student in class A? Guess that really says a lot, huh? Monoma snickered. Blushing from those comments among other overheard whispers, Izuku took a deep breath. Just say what you're thinking and get this over with. Say what you wanted to tell Shinso and Monoma, and Todoroki. I know I probably don't deserve to be up here. The audience collectively fell silent and leaned forward. Most everyone here is probably stronger than me. I'm only even up here because I got lucky in the entrance exam. Yaoyorozu cocked her head. He's being really self-deprecating, huh? Ida put a hand to his chin. He must be playing humble, right? But everyone here's trying to do their best, aiming for the top spot. So, I guess what I want to say is, I'm not gonna fall behind. I'm gonna shoot for the win with everything I've got. Izuku bowed and descended from the stage to fairly loud applause, and one insanely loud sob. On the steps, he locked eyes with Todoroki. For a second, they just stared at each other before nodding and breaking eye contact. I'd say that means he got the gist of it. Deku, that speech was awesome. Uraraka applauded. Izuku blushed and rubbed his head. Why think so? I'm glad you liked it. Indeed, that was quite galvanizing. Is Ida even trying to sound like a normal teen anymore? Midnight cleared her throat. Now that we're all positively aroused by the student rep, let's get right into the first event. She waved her whip towards a wall, which rapidly deconstructed, revealing a hidden gate. The screen behind her flashed yellow and the first event appeared, the obstacle course. You'll all run 4 kilometers around the stadium perimeter. But watch out for the traps and dangers we set out for you. Now get in position. The students all stood just outside the course entrance and readied themselves to take off. Remember, as long as you stay on the track, anything goes. When the green light goes on, start. Todoroki cracked his neck and extended his right arm, small waves of mist already forming. I'll finish this in one hit. The red light flashed. Bakugo formed a fist and growled at the hybrid quirk user. That bastard. He challenged the wrong person. The yellow light turned on. Izuku stretched out and took a deep breath. This is perfect for my training. The second the light changes, I'll do it. The light turned green, accompanied by a sonorous horn. Instantly, everything went to shit. Gah! Izuku groaned as he was forced between the rushing crowd in the hallway out of the stadium. Can't even focus. It's so narrow, it's basically a bottleneck. However, the ground suddenly became encased with ice, entrapping most of the students. Hey, what the hell? And Todoroki freezes half of the students in one move. Todoroki ran past the trapped students, so the hall's the first filter. Too bad. You're too naive, Todoroki. Yaoyorozu called as she created a pole to propel herself out of his attack's range. Bakugo roared as he blasted over the ice field. You think it'll be that easy, icy hot? One by one, more and more students appeared through the crowd, each escaping Todoroki's trap in their own quirky ways. And each. Puns. HM. That's more people than I thought. Todoroki remarked as he kept running at full speed. Todoroki! Mineta cried from high in the air, you think you're so hot? Not really. I actually actively try to be cold. Shut up. Take this. Special move. Yeesh, Mineta was cut short on account of getting flicked to oblivion by a giant metal finger. Todoroki skid to a halt. Robots? Are these the same robots from the entrance exam? There was a fairly sizable army of the small robots and around 10 of the massive zero-pointers. Those who took the Hero Course's exam instantly stopped and contemplated running away. Everyone else instantly stopped and contemplated how much shit they gave those who took the Hero Course's exam. The first obstacle, Robo Inferno. In the stands, it was becoming evidently clear that the real hazard wasn't giant robots but the flood risk coming from the green-haired mother tightly gripping her white-haired daughter. How does that work, genetically? While watching the race on the big screen. No, you can't fight those. Please just run away, baby. She wailed, presumably for her child. Miss Inko, it's okay. Deku and I worked really hard for this. Eri placated, patting the mother's knees. She wiped her face and took a deep breath. You're right, sweetie. Sorry for getting all hysterical. The onlookers' sweat dropped. Who's the adult? From the teacher's box, All Might smiled at the sight of the Midoriyas, enjoying the festival. But his expression hardened when he turned back to the screen. I suppose it doesn't even matter if you win this round as long as you get to the next one. But I guess it's time to see the fruits of your labors, young Midoriya. How does Yue even pay for this? Yaoyorozu deadpanned, mentally calculating how to build a mortar. Izuku gulped. This is bad. I probably can't beat the 0-pointers without breaking my body. I'll just have to go around. He spread his feet apart and clenched his fists at his hips. One for all. Fu dash. A sudden cold breeze broke his attention. I almost wish there was something better. Todoroki placed his hand on the ground and swiped up at an encroaching thwomp. Since my old man's watching? In an instant, many of the robots, including the 0-pointers, were encased in a thick layer of ice. Without even marveling at the insanity of his feat, he took off past the machines. Hey, he just beat them. Let's go. Some poor sod exclaimed. I wouldn't. Todoroki called as he cleared the obstacle. I froze them while they were off balance, so they'd fall. On cue, a few of the 0-pointers toppled over, dousing the students in dust and frost. Holy shit. He could have killed us. Wait, someone's buried there. Look. No way. Are people gonna die? From under one of the collapsed bots, someone emerged with a roar and the shattering of metal. Seriously, Todoroki? I'm the only one who could have survived that. From under one of the collapsed bots, someone emerged with a roar and the shattering of metal. Seriously, Class A? I'm the only one who could have survived that. The redhead and silverhead looked at each other before groaning and taking off. Seriously, man? I already don't stand out as it is. You kidding me? I didn't ask to get freaking Mechagodzilla dropped on my head. Kaminari chuckled. Man, they're lucky that they can just break through the robots. Shut up, Pikachu. Bakugo roared as he rocketed himself up and over the 0-pointers, followed closely by Siro and Tokoyami. Wow. Class A is overwhelmingly in the lead. Any thoughts, Eraserhead? Aizawa's dull voice sounded through the speakers. It's not because the other classes are bad or anything. It's because Class A's gone through a trial by fire and forgotten how to hesitate. Izuku smiled at the sentiment as he jumped at a 1-pointer. These guys are faster than the Sharingan can keep up with. But with 5%, Carolina smash. Izuku jumped forward and delivered a full-powered cross-chop that pulverized the speedy machine. Now to find an opening. On cue, a sound like a cannon reverberated through the air. Izuku turned to see a cannon. Yaoyorozu turned and fired shot after shot, each time incapacitating a different 0-pointer. She smirked, easy. Her shirts open. Ignoring his blush, Izuku took off, only to stop again once he realized that one of the 0-pointers' head was falling forward. Yaoyorozu. Working on it. She called back, struggling to move the cannon up. It's not gonna get there in time. Izuku jumped without hesitation and grinned. Good thing I came prepared. There was a brilliant flash of light, the smell of ozone, and the sound of a falcon's cry. Then the 0-pointer head exploded, revealing one very happy Izuku and a slightly steaming, slightly red hand. It doesn't hurt too bad. And now's my opening. He focused the power that he used to keep in one place around his body instead. His entire being became outlined in red veins. Then he landed, kicking up a small cloud of dust. Then it was suddenly pushed back with a light shockwave. Izuku was glowing, literally. His skin crackled with green lightning and his red eyes were rimmed with emerald light. He smirked, one for all, full cowl. Yes, yes. All Might cheered, jumping up and down in his seat. Ahem. Ectoplasm and Cementos cleared their throats, causing the blushing blonde to sit back down and attempt to regain his composure. Yaoyorozu smirked. I was wondering when you'd pull those out. Izuku grinned at her. I just needed a moment to breathe. See you at the finish line. He took off at a sprint and reveled in the feeling of his new ability. A 3-pointer and a 2-pointer were in his way. Without a second's hesitation, he casually knocked them aside and kept moving. Soon enough, he came upon the second obstacle. If you thought the last one was easy, then try the fall. Izuku gulped at the task, several rock pillars attached together by tight ropes over a seemingly endless chasm. Ha Deku. Izuku turned to face Uraraka, Mina, and Tsu. Oh hey. You're all here too. Azui pointed at him. Midoriya, you're sparking. Ribbit? He looked down and laughed with realization. Oh, it's just my new technique. Cool, right? I found a way to control my quirk without hurting myself. Oh. So you're like a glow stick now? Mina poked Izuku and yelped when a stray arc caught her finger. Sorry. He turned back to the chasm. I can see Todoroki and Kakin around the halfway point. How can we catch up to them? Tsuyu answered, it's just a tightrope. She jumped forward and began crawling across the rope like a frog. Heh, this is my chance. The 3 Class A students turned to see a girl with pink hair wearing goggles, special boots, and several other apparatuses. Take a good look, all you support companies. Especially the big ones. I'm guessing she's in the support course. Mina protested. Hey, why do you get to have all those tools? No fair. The mysterious girl chuckled mischievously. Heh. For us support course students, we're allowed to use whatever gear we make ourselves to even the odds with you hero kids. She tapped a button on her belt, releasing what looked like a graping hook from the device around her torso. This is the best way for us in the support course to show off. She giggled as the hook secured itself into a pillar and pulled her towards it with great force. She then activated her boots, which propelled her up using fans. With these 2 tools, she essentially rocketed over the majority of the obstacle in one shot. Look at my babies. Mina groaned. Talk about misplaced equality. Izuku's sweat dropped. Mina, I don't think that's ever been a thing. He jumped from rope to rope, relying on the tension to keep him from slipping. I wish I could figure out something else, but it takes so much just to keep full cowl going, I can barely process the info from the Sharingan. Just stay at 5%. Stay at 5%. Stay at dash. Izuku felt his foot slip off a rope. Huh? He started to tip over. He fell down. Damn it. Then he stopped. Please be more careful in the future. A soft voice called from above. He suddenly realized that green vines were wrapped around his torso, and they were pulling him up. Once on level ground, he turned to his savior. Thanks so Mu, it's you. You're Shiozaki, right? Class B's treasure. She nodded with a smile, thorny vines retracting back to her head. Nice to see you again, Midoriya, and you're welcome, but we really should keep going. Oh, right. He continued his trek across the ropes, more carefully this time, but berated himself. Damn it. Again, I'm only in the running because of dumb luck. Now I need to win, otherwise, how do I know I even deserve this? In the front lines, Todoroki just finished sliding across the last rope when he felt a wave of heat behind him. He ducked instinctively, just in time to avoid Bakugo's blast. He caught up? Must have been a slow starter. Damn it, icy hot. You declared war on the wrong person. Bakugo roared as he fired an explosion backwards, both pushing him forward and halting the former leader's momentum. The crowd was whipped into a frenzy at the sight of Todoroki, son of the number 2 hero, Endeavor, dominating much of the race. Man, that kid isn't just a powerful quirk. Look at his athleticism and perception. He'd give a pro a run for the money. In the background of the stands, a certain hero grinned, the flames on his beard practically dancing as he overheard the praise. That's the way. And just like that, Deku from Class A steals the lead. But will he keep it? The same man, Endeavor, clenched his fist and his eyes hardened dangerously. Shoto? And just like that, they're at the final obstacle, the Afghan carpet. The mines aren't really harmful, but they don't tickle either. Aizawa added. Izuku shook himself free of his nerves at the sight of so many mines and focused on his goal. They're already halfway across. I almost wish I had a panel like in the entrance exam. Would have just blown myself up for a boost. Izuku smiled at his joke but went to work. With just the Sharingan, I still wouldn't have the speed or agility to avoid the mines. But with full cowl and all that training with Ishido, After intensely training with and observing the Pinkette and combining his two quirks, jumping around the mines was practically effortless. Can still catch up. I can still catch up. I have to catch up. Kakin. Bakugo temporarily stopped assaulting Todoroki to look at the sound source, while the latter also turned away. Deku? His gaze hardened at the electricity-shrouded teen. Another power-up. God damn it. I'm not gonna lose to you. Either of you. With their attention on him, Izuku remembered what he felt against the Nomu. I want them to stop. Stop. Deactivating full cowl to focus, Izuku called, Sharingan. His eye immediately itched and he saw the red and black pattern reflected in his opponent's eyes. Todoroki and Bakugo instantly seized up, albeit only for a moment. It worked. Sorry, but I can't let anyone down. Izuku overtook them and felt a sudden lightness in his chest. And Midoriya takes the lead. Bakugo and Todoroki are so stunned they can't even move. What happened? Bakugo started to stir. Never mind. Todoroki snapped out of it as well. Was that his quirk? They quickly realized they were behind and took off with less than kind intent. Damn it. It didn't work nearly as well as it did against Nomu. Izuku reactivated full cowl just in time for the three of them to exit the minefield and madly dash for the homestretch at the same time. Damn it, Bakugo fired explosions to his side, trying to push back the greenette in the middle, who was also busy dodging icy blows from the hybrid quirk wielder. Wait for it, the three of them entered the tunnel back to the stadium. Izuku, recalling his lessons against Ojiro, slapped Todoroki's chin up and immediately pushed his collarbone, both with his right hand. Todoroki bumped into the wall and fell behind, temporarily stunned. He then waited for Bakugo's next explosion, which he not only dodged, but managed to catch the latter in a wristlock. Using his momentum from continuously running and his enhanced strength, Izuku jumped into the trapped Bakugo, knocking the wind out of him against the wall while the former simply ricocheted back into the middle of the path, just in time to exit the hall and re-enter the stadium. And the first one back is Izuku Midoriya. Cheers erupted from the audience and confetti descended on the panting teen. He was remotely aware of Todoroki charging in, followed closely by Bakugo, but he was too busy wiping the tears from his eyes. I did it. He looked up at the teacher's box and grinned at his smiling mentor. Izu. He turned and saw his mother wailing so hard from the stands, she created a small geyser. In her lap, Eri was actually beaming at him. He chuckled and waved at his family. Don't cry. Screw it. Izuku just let the triumphant tears fall as he watched the rest of the students enter the stadium again. Bakugo looked at the weeping wimp and rubbed his right arm, the one that got caught in a grab. That's twice now, that won't happen again, hear me Deku? Todoroki rubbed his head. Whatever he hit me with, it completely threw me off. But all I remember is red. Deku, that was awesome. Uraraka panted once she finished. You were jumping and stuff. Man, are you sure your costume isn't a rabbit? He chuckled with a slight blush. Why is she always so close? It wasn't much. Ida sulked. I can't believe I got 6th in a race of all things. That's so uncool of me. Uraraka patted his back. Well, it could be worse. She pointed to Yaoyorozu, who looked oddly tired for someone who placed first in Aizawa's fitness test. Then she turned to the side and everything made sense again. Do you need some help getting off, Mineta? Izuku asked tentatively. No thank you. I've gotten off plenty of times. Haha. Mineta cackled, in some sort of supreme nirvana. Yaoyorozu groaned. Seriously Midoriya, use that hand move and just blow him away. Izuku raised his hands nervously. That might kill him, Yaoyorozu. Yes. Blow me. Maybe just a little bit. After finally removing Mineta from Yaoyorozu's shirt, and promising her both therapy and a restraining order, the second event began. Cavalry battle. Midnight announced from atop the stage. Forming teams of 2 to 4, participants get into horse and rider formation and try to steal the headbands of their opponents. Based on how you did in the last event, you were all assigned points increasing in increments of 5 with last place starting with just 5 points. A devious smile overtook her features as the screen behind her showed the point chart, But first place is worth 10 million points. Ugh. Izuku suddenly felt 41 hungry pairs of eyes on him. I've made a terrible mistake. Midnight snickered at the panicked look on the frontrunner's face. This round is all about comebacks. It's anyone's game. Each team will receive a headband displaying that team's total point value. Your job is to get as many headbands as you can to stay in the lead. Even if you lose your headband or fall, you're still in the game. The only way to get disqualified is intentionally knocking the rider off of another team. Bakugo swore under his breath, "Fucking pussies." You can use your quirks for anything else though. You have 15 minutes to choose teams. 3 things happened almost instantly. 1. Todoroki immediately picked out 3 of his classmates and pulled them aside. You 3 form the ideal team of horses. Together, we'd have a counter for Bakugo's explosions and Midoriya's reflexes as well as the defense needed to keep our own points. I see. So you'd use your ice and fire to keep others at bay as the rider, then? Todoroki's gaze steeled. Oh. I never use my left. He looked to the stands where his beloved father stood, shining brightly like a pompous asshole. 2. Bakugo got swarmed by prospective teammates hoping to use his quirk and point value to secure their place in the next round. Bakugo, pick me. Mina jumped. Nah, you want my strength, right? Sato flexed. How about a sparkle? Aoyama weakly grunted, his stomach still in agony from the race. Who are you? Before the other 3 could scream at the ignorant blonde, Kirishima clapped him on the shoulder. Yo, Baku bro, let's go. Bakugo turned to him and scoffed. You weird hair. My hair's not even that different than yours. Pick your battles, Kirishima. Look, you want to be the rider, right? Who else but me could be the front horse and tank your shots? Bakugo was about to turn away, his interest waning, when the redhead said, "You're after the 10 million, right?" The explosive teen swiveled. "You have my attention. With me, it's practically guaranteed." Bakugo grinned, a surefire sign of inevitable genocide. All right, Kirishima's front horse. Now for the rest of the extras. 3. Izuku was left completely alone. Nobody wants to keep the points for the entire game. Stupid 10 million. At least for me, points don't matter. I guess I should get people I get along with. Hey, Ojiro? He meekly approached the martial artist, only for the latter to not so discreetly scoot away. Hey, Kirishima? Fuck off, I called dibs on weird hair. You just said my name right though? Kirishima groaned while Izuku tried, and failed, to recruit Ishido or Sato. Kaminari Ida and Yaoyorozu are all over there. Maybe they don't have a team. Hey you guys, do any of you want to team up? Please say yes. Please say yes. Please say yes. Yeah. Kaminari thumbs upped. But Todoroki already asked. Sorry bro. Kaminari clapped the shattered Izuku's shoulder with an apologetic smile. Yaoyorozu smiled too. Sorry Midoriya? Ida rubbed his head. Midoriya, you're an exceptional friend and a great hero. But seeing you succeed has reminded me that I need to strive for the top as well. He stared at Izuku with newfound grit. I've lost to you 3 times. No more. Todoroki isn't the only one who sees you as a rival. They walked off, leaving Izuku stunned silent. I mean, I'm glad he sees me as a rival, but who sees me as a friend right now? Deku. His neck creaked with panic as he turned to Uraraka. Let's team up. Uraraka. Izuku cried a literal river. Are you sure? Everyone's trying to come after me and my stupid points. She smiled. That's fine. It's better to team up with people you're friends with, right? Oh no. Coming, heart clench. Your face is all ugly. He wiped his eyes. Sorry. I'm just really glad. Too bad it didn't last. Person in first, team up with me. Izuku turned to the speaker. Eicha? You're that girl from before. In the support course. Why does she want to team up with me? She chuckled. I'm Hatsum. I don't know you, but if you're in first, then everyone's gonna be watching you, right? That means if I'm with you, I'll be in the spotlight. That means all the big shot companies will have to look at my super cute babies. Babies? Uraraka questioned while Izuku went fetal at Hatsum's close proximity. But I'm also useful to you. Hatsum pulled out a wide swath of tools from God knows where. She doesn't even notice me, huh? By the way, my quirk's called Zoom. It lets me see up to 5 kilometers away. My quirk lets me magnify things, but yours is telescopic in nature. That's so cool. They're friends already. A deep yet dull voice cut through the air. Yo, pink girl. May turned with her trademark mysterious grin. Yes? Her smile instantly faded. Shinso smirked. Team up with me. Without a word, Hatsum followed him to where Ojiro and one of the Class B kids were standing. What the hell? Izuku freaked. Why did she just leave us like that? Uraraka shrugged, secretly glad to be rid of Hatsum. Who knows? But what should we do now? Right on time, Izuku felt a tugging at his shirt. Midoriya, do you want to sparkle? Aoyama, do you need to team up? The blonde seemed less than enthused about his lack of options. Well, at least he and I are friends, but his quirk complicates things. But maybe we can fix that. Izuku spotted one person hanging around alone and grinned. Perfect. Hey, team up with us. Time's up. Pick up your headbands and get into formation. 15 minutes on the clock. 10,320 points between the four of us. If we play this right, if we can defend the entire game, we win. Uraraka, make us float, right? She nodded from the right, yes. Aoyama, use your naval laser to protect our front. Oui, monsieur. Tokoyami, you and Dark Shadow cover our blind spots? The Birdman and his shadowy avatar nodded. Understood. Izuku tied the band around his forehead, then I'll guard the points and keep track of everyone else. It's not ideal, but this is pretty damn good. Start. Izuku wasn't stupid. He knew that being in first place in the obstacle course and the bearer of 10 million points made him everyone's target. He knew that performing towards the top of the class consistently, no matter how many times it was due to coincidence/luck, made him Ida's target. He knew that being All Might's somewhat secret pupil made him Todoroki's target. He knew that being born had somehow made him Bakugo's target. But holy hell, did he not expect the stampede headed his way? Get the 10 million. The battle cry of 38 people washed over Team Midoriya as they apprehensively watched every other team charge them from all directions. Luckily, the number of attackers didn't mean much in the way of the strategy. Tokoyami, let's go up. On it. Dark Shadow. Tokoyami called his sentient quirk, which promptly pushed the entire team up at great speed, thanks mostly to their lack of weight. Izuku grinned as the group sailed over the awestruck crowd of first years. Wow. Uraraka, you're the best for making us float. Her permablush deepened. It's nothing, you know? From the ground, a topless Hagakure groaned. Man, no fair that they can fly. Jiro, get them? Sporting a furious blush at her rider's state of dress, the bobcut rocker complied. It's not like you're hiding the headband or anything by being naked. She launched her jacks at the floating Team Midoriya. Dark Shadow chirped, incoming. Moving quickly, he knocked the jacks back and resumed circling around the slowly descending team. Midoriya grinned. With Uraraka making everyone but her weightless, Tokoyami and Dark Shadow keeping up our sides and rear, and Aoyama giving us offense and defense in the front, we have a fairly solid formation. Tisk, damn it. Jiro cursed as she retracted her jacks. Hagakure reassured, don't worry. We'll get them next time. Hagakure, where's the headband? Sato tentatively asked, dread filling his mind. From behind, Monoma chuckled as he twirled a headband around his finger. These Class A kids really need to get better at multitasking. And just 2 minutes from the start, the field is complete chaos. Present Mike shouted, fists shaking in excitement. Landing with a soft thud, Team Midoriya quickly made haste away from the chaotic crowd of students. Hopefully everyone else will distract each other for a little while longer. Then we can. An object sailed right past Izuku's face, disrupting his concentration. What the he dash? Shoji was charging the team, his arms wrapped around his back like a protective barrier. From a small opening, Midoriya could barely make out 2 figures. Who? Is that even allowed? My Midoriya. The frighteningly decent signing voice of UA's resident grapist filled the air. I'm coming for you. A torrent of purple balls sailed towards Team Midoriya. Acting quickly, Dark Shadow smacked them aside as fast as he could, using his non-corporeal form to avoid the adhesive effects. However, a famously long tongue darted out. nearly seizing the headband off of Midoriya's head if not for a well-timed Sharingan. Izuku ducked under the tongue and grabbed it. Oh, this is disgusting. Sorry, Azui. He pulled on the tongue, earning a yelp from behind Shoji's barricade. No ku Midoriya, Ibi? I guess she's gonna have a bit of a lisp for a while. Sweat dropping while wiping his hands on his pants, Midoriya ordered, Aoyama, can you fire at the ground a bunch? If we make lots of potholes around us, it'll make it difficult for everyone to get close. Even if you share the rider's weight, the carrying formation's hardly comfortable, especially on rough ground where weight distribution is everything. It's not much, but it'll at least buy us some time against everyone else. The pseudo-Frenchman twinkled, I'll try not to outshine you three. Aoyama fired several short bursts of his naval laser at the ground, Uraraka helpfully pivoting for him as the group's center of mass. After only a few moments, the ground was littered with potholes and foot gaps for a 30-foot radius all around the team. Tokoyami mused. I see the point of this strategy, but how effective would it be against someone with greater dash? The Bakugo roared as he blasted over the obstacle and straight for Izuku's head. Mobility. Tokoyami's sweat dropped as Dark Shadow rocketed forth like a shield, just in time to block one of Bakugo's explosions, albeit with a shriek. Tisk, damn it, Bakugo. What did I say about blasting off like that? Siro commented irritated as he used his tape to pull the ashy blonde back onto his, Mina, and Kirishima's interlocked arms. The redhead huffed, Man, at least give us a heads up when you pull that kind of stuff. Midoriya sighed with relief, Man, that was too close. That's the downside of this strategy. We can keep everyone at bay and stop them from sneaking up on us, but that means that we have to stay in this one spot. Man, I really wish we had more in the way of mobility. Uraraka nodded. Plus, I think that explosion scared Dark Shadow. She nudged her head towards the cowering spirit, currently muttering scripture in Sanskrit to ward off evil. Sorry, but Dark Shadow doesn't do well against bright lights, remember? That's why you asked us to keep away from Aoyama and his quirk as well. Tokoyami reminded with a grave tone. I remember. Izuku reassured, wiping some sweat from his brow. Looks like most of the other groups are staying away from us now that we have the field trap set up. It's almost halfway through at this point. We can do this. And that's 7 minutes. Let's look at the standings. 1. Team Midoriya, 10,320,000. 2. Team Minoma, 1,355. 3. Team Tetsu, 1,015. 4. Team Todoroki. Where did Team Minoma come from? Bakugo clenched his fists in rage as the Class B blonde boy quickly seized his headband. Really, Class it. It's almost too easy. Minoma waved condescendingly to the stunned Team Bakugo as he turned to face Team Midoriya. I know I said we should keep a low profile, but, Tsuburaba, create some platforms, will ya? Let's get the 10 million. Kaibara looked up in surprise. You sure, Minoma? It was your idea for Class B to stick to the sideline. The blonde shrugged. Why should Class A hog the spotlight when they're leaving themselves all open like that? With little reason to disagree, Team Minoma charged forward, Tsuburaba creating a path over the potholes with a few quick puffs of solid air. Bakugo, meanwhile, was seething in rage. First, they take my headband, then they go after my kill. Fuck that. Kirishima, let's kill Midoriya on our left. Tokoyami called in a panic. The green net blanched at the sight of his newly crowned, least favorite blonde and his posse. I can't see what they're walking on, even with the Sharingan. But right before they take a step, that guy in front with the brown hair exhales in at the ground. I'd say he has some sort of propulsion quirk, but considering that their feet looks like it lands on something, I'd guess that his quirk can create platforms out of thin air. That means that wherever he can aim his breath, he can defend. But it also means that he's limited based on how fast he can exhale. Midoriya waited for the front horse to exhale and ordered, Aoyama, fire straight ahead. Aoyama quickly launched a beam right as Tsuburaba created another platform over the potholes. For a moment, it looked like Team Minoma would have to avoid the attack and lose their momentum. Unfortunately, the naval laser collided with something in the middle of the air and dissipated. Izuku started sweating. I timed Aoyama's attack perfectly. I even used the Sharingan for it. There's no way he could have created an air shield while he was focused on the ground. Yeesh, Tsuburaba. Looks like Midoriya's got some good timing. Monoma whistled as he cracked his neck. The brunette sighed in relief. Good looking out, Monoma. Monoma did that? What's his quirk? Uraraka asked. Deku, did you see what he did? Izuku nodded. It was kinda fuzzy, but I think I saw him dash. Oi, fuckface. Bakugo roared as his team jumped over the stage traps. Deku's mine. And so's that headband. Monoma sighed as the other blonde approached with an explosion at the ready. Man, Class A's just so predictable. At the last second, he deflected the blow and almost immediately countered with an explosion. Oh, that feels fun. That's a nice quirk, Bakugo. Monoma rubbed his hands with a cocky grin. What? He has the same quirk as you, Bakugo? Mina exclaimed as her team pulled back after that last attack. Uraraka cocked her head. But how does that make sense? Izuku clenched his fists. That guy, the way he blocked Aoyama, how he countered Kaken? Bastard. Bakugo roared as he fired another explosion straight ahead. This time, however, it collided with something in the air and made a distinct shattering sound. Again with the solid air. He's a copycat. Bakugo growled, angry realization dawning on him. A quirk that lets you copy other quirks. Sounds problematic. Midoriya, I think we should retreat, Tokoyami advised, also eyeing another team that seemed dangerously focused on his own. Izuku nodded. Sounds good. Uraraka, can you keep up your quirk? She flashed a grin. Yes, sir. Then let's get out of here. The team barely made it out of their own trap, courtesy of Dark Shadow, before they came face to face with another enemy. Todoroki's heterochromic eyes narrowed, going somewhere, Midoriya? Bakugo growled as one of the Class B students launched some kind of cement-like substance at Kirishima's legs, trapping the entire team. Oh hey Bondo. How's it going? Monoma waved to the man with a sand castle for a head. Monoma, with all those headbands, you'll move on for sure. Let some of us have a go. The blonde shrugged. Sure, why not? Though you're not gonna get anything from this one. He jerked a thumb towards Team Bakugo. I already cleaned them out. Mina exclaimed. Okay, I melted through it. Kirishima rolled his leg appreciatively. Thanks, Mina. Bakugo, what's the move? Bakugo cracked his knuckles. I ain't gonna lose to this jackass. I still gotta kill Deku and that half-and-half bastard. Raccoon eyes, lay down some slime in front of us. Why don't ya? And Weird Face, use that tape to pull us towards those Class B bastards? The Pinkette growled as she started spraying some mild acid. My name's Mina Ishido. And mine's Hantasiro. Whatever. Monoma looked towards Team Bakugo, currently sliding straight for him. Oh, looks like the celebrity's coming for blood. Funny though, I thought after last year, you'd be sick of slime. Oh, I'm gonna enjoy this. Bakugo growled. Kirishima, head smashed through whatever walls they put up. The redhead grinned toothily. Got it? He hardened his upper body in preparation for a collision. I'm gonna leave this to you, Monoma, Bondo said nervously as he backed away from the murderous Team Baku. Monoma exhaled. Man, I really didn't want to put up with you for this long, but... He fired several explosions in his opponent's path. I won't deny how much fun this is. However, Team Bakugo pulled through the smoke. Much to his surprise, you call that an explosion? You're like the rest of your class, just a shittier version of the real thing. Tisk, Tsuburaba. Monoma ordered as he and his classmate created 2 layers of solid air as defense, only for Kirishima to barrel straight through. Tape face on my mark. Bakugo ordered as he swung at Monoma with an explosive haymaker. At the last second, Monoma managed to graze Kirishima and instantly hardened, defending against the attack. Whoops. Sorry to waste your dash. Die. Bakugo roared as he brought both hands down over Monoma's head. But once again, the copycat hardened and blocked the attack with both arms. Seriously, you just never dash. Now let's kill the... Bakugo ordered as he unstuck the headbands from Siro's tape while his horses charged for the current winner. What? Tsuburaba deadpanned. Monoma's jaw dropped. While I was focused on Bakugo, while my hands were up, He had that one guy use his tape to grab the headbands from my neck. The Class B was silent for a while until Kurwaro commented, "Fuck you, Monoma." Eri cocked her head when she saw Team Monoma's name get replaced by Team Bakugo on the scoreboard. "That one, Monoma?" Inko looked at her daughter. "Oh, you met him already?" The younger girl nodded. "He had a weird voice and I don't think he liked Deku and I very much." "Oh," Inko commented in surprise. "Why not?" Eri shrugged. "I don't know. But Punai called him an Aryan, something." Inko paled as she felt a few onlookers stare at her and her daughter. "Sweetie, let's not say that word in public, okay? This is bad. We're completely trapped now." Izuku wiped the sweat from his brow as Todoroki finished constructing a wall out of ice, effectively sealing the two teams in a small area by the field boundary. Todoroki exhaled mist and rubbed his right arm. "Ida, get us in as fast as you can. Kaminari, keep Tokoyami at bay. Yaoyorozu, you distract Midoriya while I get the 10 million. I doubt this'll work on the first try, but..." Without hesitation, the three horses complied, Ida providing some much-needed speed through his engines while Yaoyorozu and Kaminari relied on skates to minimize impeding the former's movements. "Tisk, they're not waiting around." "Aoyama," Izuku commanded. "Art of seduction." Aoyama grunted as a powerful beam shot through the air and collided right in front of Ida, forcing the speedster to skid to a halt and move to the side. Ida grit his teeth. "Sorry, everyone. His naval laser's speed caught me off guard." "Doesn't matter. Just keep trying." Todoroki narrowed his eyes. "As I thought. I can't defend against Aoyama without my ice, but that would get in Ida's way. The best thing to do is keep up the assault until he reaches his limit." Midoriya's Tomo were spinning like a power drill. "Everyone, try to stay on Todoroki's left side. I can't find any noticeable weak points on any of them. And the ice wall's so tall that even if we could push over with Dark Shadow's help, Kaminari would have plenty of time to zap us and take him out. We just have to defend with whatever limited mobility we have." "You got it, Dad?" Uraraka nodded, slightly panting. "Echa? Uraraka, are you okay?" Deku asked, noticing his teammates' labored breathing. She smiled, but it was clearly forced. "Doing great. Little winded liar. She and Aoyama's belt are the only things weighing us down, so she's basically in charge of weighing us down and stopping us all from floating away. Of course this'd be difficult for her. And keeping her quirk active continuously must also be really hard. Uraraka, if you need to turn your quirk off, go ahead. We only have 3 minutes left anyways." She shook her head and flashed a determined grin. "Sorry, Deku, but you and Ida, everyone's giving it their all. Like you said, I'm not gonna fall behind. I'm gonna shoot for the win with everything I've got." Damn it, that sounded way cooler coming from her. "Gotcha." Izuku smiled back before turning his attention back to his opponents, whose attempted assaults kept getting thwarted by an increasingly weary Aoyama. Todoroki's eyes narrowed. "They're keeping to my left. Midoriya knows I'm not using it, and since I can't fire my ice straight without hitting Ida in front, I'm sorely limited." "Todoroki, you're trying to wear Aoyama down, yes?" Yaoyorozu asked as Ida steadied himself after yet another failed attack. The dual quirk user cocked an eyebrow. "She catches on quick. We don't have time for attrition. We need to do something fast. How fast can you trap them in ice?" Yaoyorozu held up an arm as it began to glow. Todoroki shook his head. "Doesn't matter. They're keeping to my left side so I can't dash. I'm aware. Use this." Izuku's eyes narrowed from afar. "What are they saying? I can't hear them, but I still know how." She held out the object she created, a metal rod, just like how we trapped the other teams earlier. "Channel your ice through the rod instead." The stoic teen grasped the metal pole and nearly smiled. "Not bad at all." He turned towards his opponents and glared. "Midoriya, time to finish this. Let's go." Izuku's eyes widened. "The Sharingan. I can read lips. And they're gonna use that stick to avoid hitting Ida. Aoyama, Tokoyami, I need you to destroy that rod in Todoroki's hand. They're gonna use it to trap us in ice." Tokoyami looked at Izuku quizzically. "Huh? How do you know?" "Trust me." The other two didn't seem too sure, but they complied with the request. Aoyama's beam missed its mark, but threw Team Todoroki's rhythm off, allowing Dark Shadow to swoop in and go for the rod. Unfortunately, Kaminari was still on Tokoyami duty and held out a sparking hand to repel the shadowy being. Izuku cursed, "Damn it." Todoroki jammed the rod into the ground and instantly froze much of the ground in front of them, sparing Ida while still enveloping Midoriya's left side in ice. As long as he's stuck, they can't go anywhere. While Team Midoriya was startled by their sudden entrapment, Ida flexed his legs as hard as he could, recognizing the opportunity before him. Recipro burst. The flames from engine turned bright blue and, in a flash, Team Todoroki rocketed past Midoriya's, allowing Todoroki to quickly seize the headband. And just like that, Team Todoroki takes first place. What a development! Present Mike cheered, his heart racing from sheer excitement. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. It looked like Ida suddenly shifted to a higher gear at the last second to take advantage of Team Midoriya's momentary surprise. That was at a different level than anything I've seen, though. Does he have something greater than third gear? Meanwhile, All Might gripped his chair tightly as he saw Team Midoriya shift to 6th place with 0 points. Young Midoriya? Below the teacher's box, Inko was reflooding the stands with her wails while Eri shifted uncomfortably, her heart sinking at her adoptive brother's shocked expression displayed on the stadium jumbotron. That was, I didn't even see that coming. Izuku shook as he turned to Team Todoroki with a ghastly look. There've been a few times when the Sharingan couldn't keep up with someone, but it was like I didn't even see Ida move at all. Todoroki let out a breath he didn't know he was holding and slowly tied the 10 million around his neck, carefully shuffling all his headbands and flipping them around just in case. Ida? What was that at the end? Ida panted, "Sorry for the surprise, but when I saw them trapped, I thought it best to take advantage of the situation. I used my special move to increase my speed to its limit. I'm just glad you were able to grab the headband in that split second." Todoroki looked down and noticed Ida's smoking exhaust pipes and the slight redness to the metal. "Your quirk? Is it good to go?" "Unfortunately, I'll be down for a few minutes or so. It might go faster if you cool my engines down, though." "TSK. There's less than a minute left. No point in doing that. Might as well just play defense now. It's just Midoriya, anyways." Izuku looked at his arm trapped in ice, then to his exhausted team. "Aoyama's about to collapse. Uraraka's gonna throw up at any second. Dark Shadow's crying about Buddhism. And there's only 45 seconds left. This is it?" He hung his head and tried to hold back the tears that stung his eyes. "Come on, everyone. Let's get our points back." Uraraka shouted. "Uraraka?" Izuku whispered. "Oh, I can't stop twinkling now, not after coming so far. I should keep that phrase in mind. Despite my preferences, it'd be a shame for us to give into darkness while we're so close." Izuku tightened his right fist and exhaled deeply. "You guys, let's get our headband back." With a grunt and growl, Izuku concentrated one for all into his trapped left arm and jerked it. Todoroki could only watch as the ice seemed to glow like an emerald before it completely shattered, leaving only powdery snow and a slightly raw-looking arm smoking in its wake. "Midoriya? How did he do that?" "Yaoyorozu and Kaminari, keep them back however you can. Everyone let's go." Izuku pounded his fists together and activated full cowl. Team Midoriya ran at full speed towards the handicapped Team Todoroki, their eyes practically blazing with determination, or stars, if your name is Yuga Aoyama. Those guys, they're so determined, they can't possibly win but they're still gunning for it. Todoroki instinctively leaned back and hovered his hand over his headbands defensively. Yaoyorozu prepared another staff and held it at the ready. "I'll take out their footing and throw them off. Uraraka and Aoyama are exhausted, so it shouldn't be too hard. Kaminari, keep Tokoyami away." "Yay." Kaminari rubbed the snot from his nose, his eyes twitching from quirk overuse. However, Izuku's eyes weren't spinning pointlessly. "They're gonna take out the horses. So I'll just take them out of the equation." Even if Todoroki shuffled the headbands, the Sharingan can keep track of which is which. "Let go of me." Without hesitation, the horses released their grip on Izuku, allowing him to jump off of their arms like a springboard, right for Todoroki. "I'm still under Uraraka's quirk, so I don't even need to worry about falling." Tokoyami hissed. "Did he have to jump at full strength?" Aoyama groaned. Now Mon arms hurt with Mon's stomach. Go Deku! Uraraka cheered, leading the remaining team to a safe spot away from the opposing team. Todoroki's eyes widened as the green net rocketed towards him. No way. Yaoyorozu. On it? She created a large paddle from her arm, only to get it knocked away by Dark Shadow's claws. I told you, Todoroki. I'm gonna reach for the top spot with everything I've got. Izuku shot past Todoroki's left side and wrapped his hand around all 3 headbands on his neck. However, in that split second, flames enveloped the dual quirk user's left shoulder and arm. Yelping, Izuku released all 3 in surprise and crashed into the ice wall Todoroki made earlier. No! Izuku cried as Ida ran away as fast as he could without his quirk. Todoroki could only stare at the flames on his body in shock, numb even to Yaoyorozu and Ida's words or Kaminari holding up the 10 million points he retrieved with a sighed. I promise. He extinguished the fire and stared at Midoriya with venom. Midoriya. Dark Shadow pulled the floating Izuku off of the wall and carried him to Team Todoroki at full speed. Let's go again, but peacefully. Izuku nodded, remembering his own team's expressions of determination. Yeah, we won't stop until it's over. He felt a burning pain in his eyes. Crap, is this my time limit? Doesn't matter, I have to push through. At that moment, the ice wall exploded. Deku. Half and half. Bakugo rocketed forward, hands extended menacingly. Todoroki! Izuku roared as his body crackled with the lightning of full cowl. The stadium fell silent, save for Bakugo's rather loud thud. Then it erupted into cheers, and that's the end of the cavalry battle. Let's announce the results. Izuku felt numb as Dark Shadow lowered him to the ground. Failed. I didn't get a single point in the end. In first place, Team Todoroki. Todoroki sighed and removed his headbands, seemingly dissatisfied with the result. First place. Does that even mean anything at this point? If I didn't use my left, Midoriya would have won. Then in second, we have, Team Shinso? The purple-haired Class C student smiled darkly while his teammates scratched their heads over the events of the last 15 minutes or so. Meanwhile, Team Tetsutetsu was too busy drowning in sorrow, despite Kendo's best efforts. Hey, come on guys. Chin up. Shiozaki groaned. Is this karmic retribution for taking the short boy's points? She recalled how she used a vine to slyly remove Mineta's headband. In third place, Team Bakugo. Kirishima could only chuckle. I don't know if Mr. Indisputable first place is necessarily happy about that. Damn it. Bakugo roared as he pounded the ground into dust. Then in fourth, Team Midoriya, with 0 points, which is also the score of all the remaining teams. We have a problem. Alright, I'm calling lunch while midnight and I try to fix this mess. Izuku felt like crying but his teammates clapped his back. He stared at them with teary eyes. Why guys? I'm really sorry. I thought I could grab them but I messed up. Tokoyami sighed. I won't lie, I'm disappointed in the result, but we gave it our all. Though if Todoroki hadn't flared up at the last second, Dark Shadow would have successfully grabbed at least one of the headbands. Yeah, we gave it our all and that's what matters. Uraraka cheered, though the slight shaking in her fists belied her frustration. Even as they walked off the field, she felt her heart sink with each step. Uraraka, would you like to eat together? Ida waved to her. Also, well done on an exciting match. Oh thanks. But man, I can't believe you could go that fast, Ida. I don't know what happened, you were so quick. Uraraka yelled, rapidly waving her hands in her friend's direction. Adjusting his glasses, Ida replied, well, I was saving it to use against Midoriya or Todoroki, so I figured the time was then. Maybe you'll see it again in the next round. Speaking of Midoriya, where'd Deku go? In a nearby hallway marked staff only, Todoroki stood opposite to Izuku. Shaking, the green net nervously broke the ice. So, you wanted to talk? We're gonna miss Dash. You overwhelmed me today. Lunch. Todoroki looked at his left hand and clenched it, so much so that I broke my promise. Using his left side would basically double his strength. I definitely wouldn't have stood a chance last round if he did. So why doesn't he? When you sailed past me and grabbed those points, I felt that same pressure I did when I saw you at USJ. And the only other time I felt anything like that was around All Might. Oh crap, he knows? Todoroki looked at Izuku and narrowed his eyes. Midoriya, I don't know why you're keeping this a secret, but… Oh god no. You're All Might's dash. Here it comes. Love child, right? It'd explain why your quirks are the same. Save for the weird eyes. You think that I'm All Might's illegitimate son? Any momentary glee at the idea was quickly replaced with panic. No. Of course he's not my dad. Todoroki turned his head and raised an eyebrow. You sure? Then why's he so interested in you? It's just 'cause we have similar quirks. Like Azui said on the bus a while ago. I mean, I know this is probably what I'd say if I actually was his illegitimate child Butrialiino Tandachust because House Handaibo Thava Strength Quirk Sando my god this isn't convincing dash. Whatever. Todoroki shook his head disbelievingly, but decided to change the subject, probably just to stop Midoriya from passing out. You know, Endeavor's my dad. There was a particular bite to that last word. Izuku nodded, already familiar with this fact. The number 2 hero, since you're connected to the number 1 hero, that's all the more incentive to demolish you. Endeavor sneezed as he walked down the stairs. Rubbing his nose, he flashed back to the last 2 events of the festival and felt his blood boil for a reason besides his flames. Shoto, this stunt of yours has gone on long enough. He took a deep breath. Calm down and getting fired up right now won't do anyone any good. Yo, Endeavor. Suffering is all I get in this world. All Might. The number 2 hero turned to the number 1 hero, standing atop the stairs the former just descended. How symbolic. It's been a long time. How about we get some tea and catch up? You could join us all in the teacher's box. How's that sound? Endeavor snorted. Seriously? As if I'd take time from my life to spend it with you and those washed-up cosplayers? He turned back to the rest of the stairs, only to be met with a large man in a blue suit accompanied by a whooshing sound. Now why so serious? You know who said that quote, right? No reason to be so cold. I hate everything about this man. I actually wanted to talk about young Todoroki. He was quite impressive for only using his right side. He's clearly well trained. Endeavor was silent, but his eyes narrowed suspiciously. I actually wanted some tips on how to best train the next generation, and since you've clearly done such a good job with your son, save it. I'm not here to help you. I'm just here to watch him surpass you. All Might didn't say anything, but he felt a bead of sweat run down his neck at the evident hostility on Endeavor's face. Sure, he's being a brat right now, but he'll come around. And then he'll become the next number 1 hero. That's why he was born, after all. Demolish? Izuku paled at the phrasing. Todoroki continued unimpeded. My dad's a bastard in every sense of the word. Once he realized he couldn't beat the symbol of peace, he decided he'd just have to make a hero that could. Why are you telling me this? He sighed and looked down, his expression tightening like the words themselves were painful. You know what a quirk marriage is? Izuku hesitantly nodded, recalling the term from a history class. Why yeah. My father found the perfect quirk to match his and started a family with that woman, my mother. My siblings and I are all the result of my dad trying to get that perfect balance between their quirks, just so we could fulfill his ambitions. I hate being a tool for him. Todoroki clenched his fists tightly, but took a second to calm down. You know, I can't remember a time when my mom wasn't crying. Izuku sharply inhaled. After a while, I don't think she could distinguish between my left side and my dad. I guess it makes sense why she'd throw boiling water onto my face. Holy shit. So that's why I can't use my left side, his quirk. I have to reach the top using just my right side. Then, I'll have denied him everything. Izuku was silent for a while, so Todoroki just sighed and walked to the exit. Sorry for dumping that on you. Just know that I'm not gonna make the same mistake again. I'll beat you with just my right side. I've been helped my entire life. Todoroki turned around with a curious look. Huh? Izuku was looking straight at him. I mean, I've only gotten here because I had help. And my motivation isn't much compared to yours, but if I don't win, I'm just wasting the efforts of everyone who's ever believed in me. So I can't lose. That's how I'll repay them. From a nearby hall, Bakugu's gaze widened at the revelation he just eavesdropped on. Todoroki's eyes seemed to narrow, but he quickly turned around and nodded. After a delicious lunch courtesy of Lunch Rush, who is somehow an actual pro hero, and a brief moment of hilarity involving Class A's females' costumes courtesy of Mineta and Kaminari, the first years gathered by the stage for an announcement by midnight. I hope that everyone enjoyed their break and we're about to get to the recreational activities, but let's talk about the final round before anything else. Midnight twirled her flail playfully. Izuku gulped. Round 3's almost always a one-on-one competition between the top 16 competitors. But since only 12 people actually had a score, Midnight brandished her whip with a seductive hip swing. The top 3 teams, Team Todoroki, Team Shinso, and Team Bakugo. The 12 of you are automatically in the next round. We'll hold the preliminary tournament to decide the next 4 now. The audience initially broke out into cheers before coming to a sudden stop once the last part of the announcement was processed. What? A glimmer of hope lit in Midoriya's heart. What did she say? Midnight licked her lips and smiled sensually. I know this is different from our normal rules, but since all the other teams had 0 points, we're going to let the 2 teams that were last to lose their points fight it out to claim a spot in the finals. The 4 winners from those teams will move on to the 3rd round. What? Team Midoriya and Team Tetsu exclaimed. Midnight cracked her whip again and the screen changed to show timestamps next to each of the teams with 0 points in descending order. 4. Team Izuku, -0:50. 5. Team Tetsu, -1:03. 6. Team Minoma, -1:06. While normally we wouldn't want to reward failure, we admittedly ran into a logistical error with only 12 finalists. Since these 2 teams lost their points in relatively similar time spans, we'll let them prove how deserving they are to be up here. Tokoyami raised his hand, but then why not just elevate the team to last lose their points instead? Oi, shut it you bastard! Tetsu roared, held back only by Itsuka's ironically ironclad grip. Midnight smiled sadistically and the students felt the air grow colder. Logistics aside, this is a school that brings out the best heroes possible. To that end, those of you who haven't quite lived up to our expectations just need to work that much harder to show that you're worthy to stand on this stage. With a nod, the R-rated hero switched to her normal persona like she hadn't just gone full dominatrix on the first years. Anywho, we'll get started right away and then give you all another break. The matchups are W8. Everyone turned to the source of the disruption. Ojiro, I'd like to drop out. What? Ojiro, what are you doing? You worked so hard for this. Izuku protested, remembering the intense training they did together. The martial artist just looked down with an angry face. The cavalry battle, I don't remember it at all. It was his quirk, I'd bet. I guess he means Shinso. Come to think of it, he did convince Hatsum to join his team rather easily. I know how important the sports festival is and how dumb I must look to give up a chance like this, but everyone's here because of their strength. So for me to stand on the same stage without even knowing how I got here, that just seems insulting. Toru waved her pom-poms frantically. What are you talking about? If anything, this is your chance to show them what you can really do. Mina nodded, and by your logic, then I don't even deserve to be here. Ojiro shook his head and covered his face. It's not just that. I have to consider my honor. The girls fell silent, but seemed to accept his decision. Also, why do you look like cheerleaders? Interjecting, Shota from Shinso's team added, I think I'll withdraw too. I don't remember anything either. And wouldn't someone who advanced without their own skill be against the rules anyways? Kirishima started to tear up. Jesus, these guys are really freaking manly. How naive. The pro hero stared emotionlessly at the 2 withdrawals before cracking her whip. I'm incredibly turned on. The fuck did she just say? Bakugu's jaw dropped. Midnight tapped her chin. So in that case, we'll have a member from each team replace Shota and Ojiro in the main tournament. So we only need 3 matches to decide the next round. Now Tetsu interjected. Actually send 2 members from Team Midoriya. All of my team will fight. Hey! Kendo grabbed his collar. What are you doing? Away's face bombed. The fuck is your problem? We technically ranked lower than them. I don't want any pretense either. Class 1B will prove we belong based on our skills, not some technicality. Midnight huffed. Holy crap, I'm so ready to go. I'll allow it. Team Midoriya, choose 2 members to send forward. Uraraka was instantly at Izuku's side. Much to his discomfort, Deku, you should advance. Tokoyami appeared as well. Indeed. It was your opening that allowed us to move on. While nobody sparkles more than I, Monsieur Midoriya was quite luminescent. You guys? Izuku shook his head. I appreciate it, but no. Uraraka and Aoyama, you two had to use your quirks to the point of exhaustion. And Kaminari nearly wiped out Dark Shadow. I didn't do anything until the end. 2 of you should go. The other 3 fell silent before Tokoyami sighed. Dark Shadow and I didn't strain ourselves too much during the cavalry battle. You two move on. Midoriya and I will see you in the dash. Uraraka and Tokoyami will move forward. Aoyama exclaimed. Got it? Midnight waved her whip to the shocked Team Midoriya. Aoyama, why? Tokoyami sputtered. The blonde just winked. I couldn't allow you to shine brighter than I. With a crack of her whip, Midnight called, then it's decided. The 3 matchups will dash. Wait, come on. The audience practically screamed, wanting the tedium to end. Monoma only grinned. Why not give us a shot too? My team was only a few seconds shy of Team Tetsu, and if we send 2 members of our own, then you'll have a proper preliminary tournament bracket of 4x4. The R-rated heroine sweat dropped. What? No, that makes no sense at all. It'll be fine with just 3 MAC-. My team consists of only handsome young men with very loose-fitting clothing. Approved. Midnight huffed, steam erupting from her ears. Midnight, I can't back that up. Aizawa muttered from the announcer's booth. This is already contrived enough. Just do the dash. His microphone cut out. Present mic cleared his throat. Ahem. Sorry about that, folks. Aizawa's mic had some static on it, so I'm taking over for the management. I agree with Midnight completely. I guess then. Monoma and I will go forward, mostly because the others are still mad at him. Tsuburaba rubbed his head sheepishly. Midnight smiled. Then it's decided. Please turn your attention to the board for the preliminary matchups. The screen flashed for a moment before it produced a single-tier bracket of all 8 competitors. 1. Tetsu versus Itsuka Kendo. 2. Yosetsu Oways versus Cozy-eyed Tsuburaba. 3. Yuga Aoyama versus Fumikage Tokoyami. 4. Izuku Midoriya versus Ibara Shiozaki.